Tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, April 4. It's a Friday, people. How you feeling? I feel like that chick from the Titanic when she's like, it's been 87 years. That's how long it feels like it's taken to get to this Final Four. I'm excited about the Final Four. You got 2.5 with Florida. I've got predictions from hoop heads, including Steve Torrey, that I texted today. We'll get to those. The bottom line is Duke toyed with Alabama. Alabama's a legit team, and Duke toyed with them. I want Houston to win. I really do. I want this Samson kind of the buildup. The Houston buildup feels like the Dodgers buildup. You know what I'm saying? Like over all those years of winning divisions, they've won conferences, but they've just been building. They've been hit with injuries. It's kind of the little school that could. Ralph Sampson ain't walking through that door. But this Duke team, again, that Bama team is legit, and they toyed with them and beat them by 20. I don't see how Duke loses. Anywho, we say hi. Let's set you up properly and have some fun today. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. You can find us on the phones. You can see us and hang out with us in the chat on YouTube at VSiN Live. Our buddy Ryan Smith is back. Welcome, Ryan. Cody Homage back in New York City. So we've got you covered coast to coast here on VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. That's the big guy, Dustin Swedelson, having a big week here on the program. Kind of settling in. Starting to feel himself a little bit. His girlfriend gave him a pep talk. His therapist gave him a pep talk, so he's feeling good. He's letting the gray come into the beard. I think it looks better than the shoe polish he was using before. And who am I to criticize? I'm sitting here with hair down to my back. So what am I going to do, people? We're going to have a little fun to start the program, including we do have the FU Tour continuing across baseball as the Dodgers left Los Angeles and head to Philadelphia against a team that is legitimately a World Series contender in the Phillies. I think they win that division, the East, where Dustin's Metsies reside. And right now, the Dodgers, of course, 8-0. They trail 1-0, top of 2, do have a runner on. So that's kind of a theme on this program. We're going to keep you updated throughout the spring and summer with what the Dodgers are up to because, as I've told you, they're on an FU tour. They're pissed. The antennas are up. They've heard what Steve Torrey has said. They've heard what Chris Russo has said. And they want to absolutely demolish everybody in their way, on their way to the record of regular season wins and another World Series back-to-back, belly-to-belly. Okay, so we'll keep you updated there, Dodgers, Phillies, as we keep it moving. Thomas Gable is going to join. He is the race and sportsbook director at the Borgata in Atlantic City. Jeremy Plonk is going to stop by ExpressBet. That's horse racing, people. We're under 30 days away from the Kentucky Derby, which is going to be electric this year. There's a lot of very good horses. Like I'm talking potentially Triple Crown horses this year. So looking forward to that. Joe DeLeone is going to join. He's going to talk about the NFL draft as I believe Colorado had their pro day today. So 2 important players there. Shedeur Sanders, where will he be drafted? And then Travis Hunter, what position will he play? We don't have a precedent really for two-way players. Dustin and I were having the conversation earlier today. You can dig into it, and there really just isn't somebody that's done this in modern day. So we will talk about Travis Hunter and the crew. All right, let's say hi to the big guy to get started. We're going to have a little fun to start the program, then get into some NFL conversation. Of course, we're going to have you covered with the Final Four as we say hi to the big guy, Dustin Swedelson. What's cracking?
Look, it's a Friday. I thought you were going to get loose when you mentioned Rose from Titanic and say you were feeling like her in the backseat of that car with Jack. Big moment, big scene, hand on the window.
Oh, yeah. No, she took it. You know, Winslet sold out with DiCaprio for that piece. James Cameron was like, I'm glad I'm not wearing sweatpants.
Hey, pre-internet websites, that scene was very important to my adolescence. That's all I'll say.
I understand. What's cooking today? How you feeling?
Feeling good. I appreciate you noticing the beard. I did manicure it before the show started. I am obsessed with watching TikTok videos of how to do your beard, and I still can't get it right. I'm 40 years old, but I'm sick of spending money on getting my beard done.
Okay, well, good start for the big guy, of course. Talking about TikTok is always timely as a 40-year-old man on a Friday. So let's get started here. We're going to get into our little media roundup because I've been obsessed with this, and others have started to take notice, including a little show called Beadle and Decker, and Michelle Beadle, a consummate professional. What we do with Media Roundup is we try to figure out what the A topic is. What are those in the know talking about? Good job, Ryan Smith, with the caption there. What are those in the know talking about? What's Shine opening with? Women's college basketball? Potentially. You know he's into it. Juju. Beadle and Decker, are they opening with the weather? Did they go NBA? How about Chris Russo? Did he open with a new book on James Garfield? How about Steve Torrey? Now, here is my one consistent. And then we'll go to First Take. We'll go all over. We'll go to VSiN. Steve Torrey's my one constant because my man is so in the cut when it comes to college hoops. I didn't even hear, and you know I love you, Steve. I didn't even hear Torrey's open today, but I guarantee my man, because we are like brothers from another mother when it comes to college hoops, I guarantee my man Steve Torrey opened with the Final Four and steady stayed on it. Dustin Swedelson.
I can cover it. By the way, I know cancel culture's over, but I don't think you're allowed to call Adam Shine Juju. I don't think that's allowed.
No. Juju Smith-Schuster, excuse me, Juju Watkins, the USC player. You understand, this isn't about being Jewish.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving. What else?
Look, we're going to add a new member to the Media Roundup. I have been ignoring one show, and it's not anything intentional. When we created this segment, which is just a ripoff of the old Hot Box, but we created this new version of the Hot Box called the Media Roundup, I essentially just went through what my morning routine was. Well, listening, not like going to the restroom and brushing my teeth and all that. But we began with First Take just to see what they open with. Then I went to Shine, went to Beadle and Decker, Mad Dog, and then Torrey. And today we are going to debut the first edition of DA Show with Babchick on the program. And I have to tell you, I appreciate the professionalism. Not once have I heard from Babchick, well, since I came back, but also since he's been omitted from this segment. And in the past, when we did the Hot Box, the old segment where we compared clips from each show, I would point out there was one host on the network who's no longer here who literally cried in Steve Torrey's office because we didn't include him.
There was. Wait, so but those that don't understand what Dustin's talking about, we used to do a thing called the Hot Box. We used to pull a clip from each show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, play the clip, and then we would judge it. At times, we would have celebrity judges come by the studio and say, who had the best clip of the day? You want to give me a clue as to who was crying in the office?
I believe it was someone who said that they wanted your time slot to your, not to your face, but down the line one time.
Oh, yeah, that donk. All right, well, you can't find him now. All right, so get it started. What's up?
All right, First Take. You know, I got to give them credit. Stephen A. Smith and the gang, they opened their show with a very interesting question coming off last night's Lakers-Warriors game. What's better for the NBA, the Lakers or Warriors make a deep playoff run? If you're shocked that they ignored the Final Four since we began this segment like over a month ago, they one time in that month of March Madness opened their show with NCAA tournament talk.
Yeah, you know, First Take and Dog, I'm sure gets pissed about it, Dustin, because they've got to play the hits, and the hits are Steph and LeBron. If you did miss it last night, the Warriors beat the Lakers 123-116. Dustin, I don't know if you watched the game, but I was dialed in because I had Steph Curry over 4.5 threes. He was 4 of 11 from 3. So he killed your boy. But I'll say this, Podemski, or whatever the hell his name is, he had the game of his career. He had 28 points. He hit 8 3-pointers. You know, a little white guy, he went nuts. And I'll just say, people, we have to start focusing on this Warrior team. They out-rebounded the Lakers. That's going to be an issue for the Lakers as far as size. I don't know, because SGA and Oklahoma City are so good. You worry about Jokic in a big spot because of the people surrounding him, the teammates, of course. I don't know if it's time or if it's too late to start including the Warriors in a championship conversation. Now, are they going to beat the Celtics? Probably not. Would they beat the Cavaliers? Probably not. But I genuinely believe the Warriors are in that conversation for coming out of the West now. That's how good they're playing.
But the Warriors, to me, have all the elements of why I haven't been sold that the Thunder are winning the West. They have the vets. They have guys who've been through it. They can handle a physical game. But more importantly, when it's crunch time and you have to turn to someone to hit big shots, they've got Steph Curry. And while SGA is awesome, I don't know what he looks like in those clutch moments. I don't know what type of player we're going to get. And I know he can't shoot the ball like Steph Curry, who's got the green light the second he crosses half court. So because of all of that, the Golden State Warriors are a team to me that I would be scared of if I'm Oklahoma City in the West. On the other side, I have a question. Who's in better shape right now, me or Luka Doncic? Because last night looked like one of those games where that's the reason Dallas traded him.
Look, I don't – this is just me. I don't know if this is true, but he was hungover last night. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, my man was on a bender. Like, if you watch the game, LeBron was in fuego in the game. He had 33 points, 9 dimes, and 5 rebounds. Luka – and again, Luka is going to give you 19, 8, and 7, even when he's struggling. But my man was going through it, and I've been there. I'm 47, used to be a pretty heavy drinker, and I know what it feels like when you wake up in the morning and the look in his eye last night. Again, not saying Luka was drinking, just saying he looked like maybe the night before on a Wednesday he had a good one.
Yeah, and I think that was some of the concerns Dallas had. I don't expect this all the time from him, but it was a big game against the team in the Warriors, who, if you look at his history, he normally goes off against Golden State. And last night it wasn't him. And down the stretch, they needed him to step up, and it just got sloppy for LA.
Yeah, it didn't happen. No, that's a good point by you. Luka was not Luka last night. But the Warriors, to me, the big story was the Warriors coming here to Los Angeles on an extended road trip. They were in Memphis a couple of nights ago when Steph had the all-time game. They come to Los Angeles. The crowd was going nuts, and they were the better team last night. Your Warriors might be live in the West. That is First Take. Who's next, big guy?
All right, the DA show with Babchick. Welcome to the media roundup for the first time. So they open with the Final Four. What do we want to see this weekend to save March Madness was their question. Babchick said close games, back and forth, final minute deciding games. According to Michael Babchick, not having a Cinderella is not an issue. He wants some drama. And DA added, if you're going to have chalk, you need great games. If not great games, you need Cinderella. So they expect and need great games if we're going to salvage March Madness this weekend.
Yeah, I think they're onto something. Listen, the theme has been, it's funny. I think it was Dan Bonner who was on the program last night from Turner Sports. Of course, longtime play-by-play guy there, college hoops. He said exactly what we've been talking about. It's like people bitch when you get chalk, but then when there's a Cinderella, they're like, listen, we want the blue bloods in the mix. I think what we have with this Final Four, and tomorrow it'll play out, whether it's a 2.5 point, I see no separation with Florida and Auburn. I'll give you Steve Torrey when we get to him. I'll give you his prediction. I think the Houston-Duke matchup, although I think Duke wins it, potentially easily, Dustin, I think it's a very interesting matchup because you have the best offense v. the best defense. I think the storylines are there with Bruce Pearl, obviously Calvin Sampson, the legacy conversation, Golden and Shire, they're free-rolling right now. I think it's loaded as far as storylines.
Yeah, we've got two older head coaches where you have to wonder what the window is, how many opportunities they have to do this again. Two up-and-coming young coaches taking over programs that had a ton of success, which would be massive for their legacy to put their imprint on it right now, early in their stage of their careers as head coaches with Shire and Golden. I love that we got old versus young on either side. And we'll see what the title game ends up being. The vibes I'm hearing is everyone expects it to be 37-year-old Shire versus 39-year-old Golden in the championship game, which would be fascinating.
Yeah, and the market's telling you that as well. I totally agree. Okay, good job with DA and Babs. Hope Babs is doing well. That freaking D-Gen. What shtick? My man has built a career off of shtick. Oh, I hate my wife. Oh, my family life's a disaster. Then why do you keep having children? He might be the most in love person I've ever met. All right?
He can't stop.
I see right through it. Yeah, I see right through it. All right? I'll put you in the trunk, you little whatever. Who's next?
All right, Adam Shine. Shine on Sports. Final Four. He says it's the best college basketball season in the 20-year history of Shine on Sports. This Final Four is awesome, according to Adam Shine. Nobody's going to miss Cinderella come tomorrow. It's the 4 best teams, And Adam has Duke winning it all. He loves Shire having his own identity from Coach K. He loves watching Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the #1 pick. And he says Duke's going to be too much for Houston. And whoever they face in the championship, it's all Blue Devils all the way.
Well, the idea that Adam, and he's got a good friend that likes this program here in Los Angeles. I can't remember his name, but shout to you. You know who you are. The idea that Adam would go, and this is what makes him the greatest. Speaking of the greatest, what I love about him is when I do my spots with him on VSiN, his intros of me, he would make you believe that I'm a mixture of Chris Russo, Jim Rome, and Howard Cosell. Here comes Patty. He is the greatest. You love him. You can't wait to hear him every week. It changes my whole human being as a person when I see him. You love him. He's a legend at VSiN. He's a legend in Broad. And then he introduces me, and I don't know what to say because you're just like, I know you're playing. I know you're clowning. Now I have to follow that. That's actually genius. It's a good job by you, Adam. So it's not a surprise that he would say it's the greatest Final Four of all time because that's what my man Adam Shine does.
Okay, next one up here. We're going to skip Beadle and Decker for now. Let's go to Chris Russo, Mad Dog Unleashed. He opened with the Final Four today. He likes a Duke-Florida title game, which we just talked about. That's what the betting market says it's going to be. Says Duke has the best player on the floor. He also says Florida hasn't played great in the tournament. They've been tested. They've found a way. He said, we haven't had a lot of great games, but Doggy says, hopefully that changes this weekend.
He said all that while simultaneously texting Rob Manfred. That's a good open. Who's next? Steve Torrey?
Steve Torrey, Mad Dog Daily. He opened, shocker, Final Four. Actually, I think he made a great point here. Last year, we complained about UConn running through everyone from February like they were rows on that boat in that car. At this point last year, nobody thought UConn would lose. It lacked mystery a year ago. This year, we have a little bit of that. We have all the 1 seeds, but you really don't know who's going to win it all. So basically told people to stop complaining.
Okay, so I have Tori's response. I texted people that I know hoops, and I asked them, give me your Final Four prediction for the program tonight, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here is Tori's response. I picked Houston to beat Auburn at the start of the tournament, but after seeing what Duke did to shut down Bama, I can't see them losing. People sort of discounted Auburn a bit going into the tournament because they slipped up a bit late this year when they had nothing to play for. Duke over Auburn in the final. Stamped by Steve Torrey. Duke over Auburn. You know what I wrote back to him? I got the exact same thing.
Oh,
I got Auburn beating Florida. I'll give it to you right now. I got Auburn beating Florida. Broom's going to be fine. He said he's completely healthy. I got Duke winning by doubles over Houston, and I got Duke waxing Auburn in the final on Monday.
Look, I just think
Duke is one of the best teams I've ever seen. And Bill and Chevy Chase, and anybody wants to call in because you think I get ahead on my skis. Yes, I do. That's what I'm paid to do. But also, I think Duke is legitimately one of the best teams I've seen.
Because I think the initial response to Duke is, well, it's just Cooper Flagg, and it's not. Proctor hits a ton of big shots. Kneppel is awesome as well. They have a variety of weapons. They're elite on both ends of the floor. I think we get caught up with these teams sometimes where we're like, okay, they're great offensively. They can't also be great defensively, but Duke is that. Duke is better on offense and better on defense than Houston, who we talk about every year being elite on defense.
Yeah, no, 100%. They're just too big. I know they're young, but they're too big. You can't get to the rim. And they could defend the three. Flagg can do everything, ancillary parts. And Shire, I'll be honest with you. Again, we've asked the question, does Coach K want this team to win a championship? I think it just comes down to human nature. You don't want to leave as potentially the GOAT and have a kid come in and win a championship 10 minutes later. I don't know if this Duke team is as good as they are now under Coach K as they are under Shire. That's just... It's not like he had mailed it in over the last couple of years, but my man was in his 70s. I just think Shire has a precociousness and a little of edge to him that K had 20 years ago. I like Shire in this spot.
Yeah, there was a little with Coach K at the end of, I have the best players, just let them go do their thing. And with Shire, I think because he has to build a program, we're seeing more his touch on things. The big takeaway from that Alabama game was how composed they were and how they had an answer for everything they saw from Alabama. And the Tide just looked completely flustered every step of the way. I think the composure that Duke shows means that they're ultra prepared for every game. And I think that's all Shire putting his fingerprints on the program. And at 37 years old, with that already being like a machine, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If Duke's interested in an elite player, they're probably going to go there, right? That's just how it works. He can have his choice every offseason. Because of that, I think he has a chance to do some absurd things from a historical perspective at Duke.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And let's just be fair. We should often and better. Here's what happens in the betting space. First off, it's full of a lot of losers, if I'm being completely honest. But secondly, what starts to happen is because sports bettors want to be smarter than the person next to them, they overthink and they try to go contrarian. And sometimes we forget what our eyeballs have told us. And by the way, you can look at the numbers. Duke's all-time great. Go to KenPom. But then we overlook what our eyeballs have shown us. Again, Auburn is legit. Duke toyed with them and won by 20. What more do you need to see? Eyeball test. Duke is best of the four. It's not even close. Who's next?
All right, and then finally here, we will go to Beadle and Decker. Our friends Michelle and Cody, they're in the midday, right before Doggy. I would tell you what they were going to talk about. Instead, I want to play a clip. The lead-in was, we got a little bit of weather, we got a little bit of weekend, and then Michelle caught herself saying this on Beadle and Decker earlier today.
The fun thing is, like, whenever I'm home, I'll just be like, let me just dig through a random drawer and see what's in here. Because I was looking for my Tombstone tank the other day for Val Kilmer. Mm-hmm. And I found, like, my Letterkenny tanks. I found my Shoresy tank. So I'm like, I don't like to check a bag back to L.A., so I'm trying to figure out, all right, how do I get these very vital tank tops back to Los Angeles? Because, you know, it's sun time. It's like walking time on the beach. It's workouts. Like, you need tanks, ladies and gents. You need them. By the way, I'm very paranoid of how we start our Friday show.
Why's that?
Because I did not know that this is a thing that those dudes over the night show do. Mm-hmm. Patrick and Swedelson, Mar and Swedelson. They do a little segment on their show where they go through the rest of the shows on the lineup and see how they started their shows. So, like, Shine always has a model. Like, everybody else comes in with like an actual plan, and we obviously do as well.
Plan.
And so now I realized halfway through this conversation, I was like, oh crap.
Why?
Well, because last week when they ran down all of the shows, it was about how, I had a soda. So, like, you know, it's that kind of compelling segment one that we've been putting together on Friday.
It's perfect.
All right, so a couple of things. One, I just want to give Michelle, first off, Michelle Beadle, super talented for many, many years, and a welcomed addition along with Cody to Mad Dog Sports Radio. I will say this. There was a little bit of a bite in her tone when she brought us up. Okay, chill, Michelle. Just chill out. We're having fun, and I love the fact that you embraced it. If you're going to open with soda, whether it be regular or diet, you got to live with it. If you're going to open with the weather and whether or not you're bringing a carry-on, you have to live with it. Here's the bottom line. You are talented enough to pull it off, so just go with it. And another thing, and this is what's important to understand about Mad Dog Sports Radio, it's unlike any other media platform. It is a network. It's a family. It's not just a family amongst the shows. I don't look at it as like a thing that goes up and down. I look at it as a thing that's horizontal. Everybody's on the same page. Chris treats everybody the same. And Steve Torrey is a wonderful program director, and it's created this familial thing. And then you add in the special sauce, which is the listeners and the network that has been created by Chris Russo of not only sophisticated callers, but people that genuinely care about the lineup and the individual people, whether it be host, producers, people behind the scenes on the channel. This channel has been around since 2007. I jumped aboard in 2013 and then took a little break, and now we're back. And when I came back, a very welcomed addition of Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker were there. And they nicely, I guess they were very cordial, had me on their program, and I swear it was like getting hit with a freaking tornado of excitement. Like, my constitution would just, like, my temperament was not prepared for what happened when they just came at me. I settled in and had a wonderful conversation with them. So I think the fact that Michelle is embracing the familial aspect of the network, very positive. a good choice.
Yeah, my only disappointment is I finally I have a girlfriend, and this is the only other time in my life I've ever been in the head of a woman. I'm in her head now while she's doing her open to her show. It's the first time it's ever happened to me.
It's almost like when she said our names, there was this like indignance. You know what I mean? She was just like, it was this little bit of a bite, like those losers at night. And you know what? That fuels my fire. I love it, Michelle. Keep it coming. I would never date a girl if she liked me. No, you know what I'm saying? Like I get fueled when people go at me. Oh, what a great! I like that little clip you just played for us. And listen, the channel's great. Outside of that, JT the Donk. Listen, stop lecturing the most sophisticated listeners on the planet. You Make-A-Wish ass radio host. All right, just be happy you're there. Other than that, the channel rules.
And just remember, I'm always listening. I hear everything.
No, shut up, Dustin. Don't be a hard ass. Let me do it. Go. What else you got?
That's it. That's the media roundup. That's everybody.
All right. So good stuff. Your main takeaway is Final Four.
That, and we have to have a show meeting because I think the media roundup is picking up steam. And it's unfortunate for me, but we might have to just bring back the hot box. It might need to happen. We may need to hear it from people's mouths versus me giving you the cliff notes.
The hot box was a strenuous exercise because it took a lot of your time.
What I'd say is technology is advanced where I can pull clips on my phone easily now, where it may be a little bit easier than it used to. So we may give it a go once or twice and see if it works out.
I just love the fact now, we're in Michelle's head, which makes for great radio. Yes. She's entertaining as all get out, so she can come on and talk about Diet Dr. Pepper. It'll be hilarious as shit, but we're in her head now. We like that. Shine's not going to change anything. Shine is just going to tell you how great Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers is, and he's going to go off. Torrey, he hates the NBA. If he's forced to talk about it, he'll do it. He'd prefer talk college hoops after Monday's tournament game. Dog will probably give you something on, Benjamin Harrison in between and tariffs. And then, in the morning, the show title's too long. That's probably why we hadn't included it until today. But we got to get DA and Babs in the mix. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway is the return of the hot box.
All right. That's up to you. I'm not going to put that pressure on you because I know what a pain in the ass. It's like such a process. So that's completely up to you if you want to do it.
Yeah. Maybe
basically all it is we're just going to add clips. When we talk about what they talked about in Media Roundup, we'll play a clip and promote the shows. But it's a fastidious process.
It is. Hear the tone, hear the inflection, hear what they actually said versus me summarizing it all. That's all.
All right. When we come back, so Shedeur Sanders and the pro day with Colorado. Shedeur Sanders is a lightning rod. And I think a lot of it, big guy, has to do with his dad because he's a good quarterback. I don't think his ceiling is crazy high. He's not Joe Burrow. I don't think he's got a crazy high ceiling. But Shedeur Sanders he's very good. And we went through the history of the second quarterback selected in the draft, and we're going to give that to you. And then a question for you. If you drafted Travis Hunter, and, the Patriots might do it, he's going to be a top 5 pick. If you drafted Travis Hunter, what do you value? Because we constantly hear, it's harder to find a good cornerback. It's harder to find an island guy where you just leave the cornerback over there on a Jamar Chase on an island, and then you can do so much more schematically with the other 10 players. I might be elementary, but I want the lit wide receiver. I want somebody just making plays and scoring points. If he's got the body control, if he's got the hands that everybody's talking about, if he's got the high point ability as a wide receiver. I think if I'm drafting Travis Hunter, I'm just saying become a special wide receiver. But we ask you, what would you do if you drafted Travis Hunter? Because he's going to be a big-time high pick. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Good start on a Friday. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, get 24/7 sports betting coverage on channel 158. That's VSiN, and on the SiriusXM app. And we've got an exclusive offer for SiriusXM listeners and Mad Dog Sports Radio listeners. $19. You get everything we offer through August 1. All right, a daily email, which makes the $19 obviously worth it because it's pros. It's all the experts. A daily email categorized with the picks and a ton of picks. Exclusive betting splits, DraftKings Circa, plus our Kentucky Derby betting guide, NFL betting guide when it drops. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use that promo code SIRIUS to lock in the special offer. $19 through August 1. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher, as we welcome you back. Hope you've had a nice week as we turn the corner to the Final Four tomorrow. Two games spaced out, Alamo Dome. What will make Dustin bitter is the fact that he feels as though he discovered that they're playing in like a big dome, but the last thing I heard Steve Torrey talking about is, hello, they're playing in a big dome. So either he's stealing your shtick or everybody knows.
Well, I have a big dome, therefore it's easy for me to recognize a big dome well in advance, and because of that, I would go under in that Florida-Auburn game. 159.5 feels way too much considering the weird sight lines of the Alamo Dome.
All right, so the pro day today at Colorado, you can kind of let us know as far as participation, what happened. Listen, Cam Ward's going 1 overall. Tennessee is going to stay there, and Tennessee is going to select Cam Ward. All right, and then the draft gets very interesting because you're looking at, Dustin, you're looking at a couple of special players, and then the draft is relatively deep. It's just not overly top-heavy. You've got Cam Ward, who there are questions about, but in a quarterback, a dearth of talent at the position, you got to take a risk if you're Tennessee. So they're going to go Cam Ward. You've got Abdul Carter, the kid from Penn State. He is projected to be a pretty special talent. You've got Travis Hunter, potentially a two-way player, Dustin, projected to be pretty special, though I think he's slight, measured better than you would expect, though I think he's slight, and I'm not as high on Travis Hunter as others. Then you start getting into the wild cards. Ashton Genty, what do you do with a running back? How high do you go? Could he be special coming out of Boise State? And then, of course, Shedeur Sanders. What is he? Is he a guy that took sacks because he didn't want to affect and throw the ball away, affect his completion percentage, as many have said, which would lead to character concerns? Is he a guy that has a pea shooter as an arm, not necessarily the strongest? Or is he a leader, a very composed, developed quarterback with average to above average arm strength, average to above average escapability? Like, there's a chasm with how people evaluate Shedeur Sanders. You would agree?
Yeah, there's some people who believe he's not worthy of a first-round pick, and there's others that think he should be on the radar of the teams picking in the top 5. When I see him, despite like all the tape we have on him, because he's been at Colorado forever, I still have question marks. He's a 4-year starter in college, and we still have question marks. And a lot of it is what you said, the taking sacks, but more importantly, playing behind a bad offensive line where a lot of their throws, because they had no run game, were screens to Travis Hunter. See, I think both Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's numbers are a bit padded because of the lack of run game. They use those screen and short passes as a version of a run to get the ball in the hands of Hunter quickly, and it made both of their numbers look a little bit better than they really are. But as a pure quarterback, I see a very solid quarterback. I don't know if I see an elite quarterback, but I see a starter in the NFL who's accurate and smart and knows what to do with the football and throws a very catchable ball despite not having insane arm power, which I think arm power is completely overrated. We have Mahomes, we have Allen, we have one or two others that can throw it a mile. The rest of the league can throw it about 25, 30% less than them, and they're pretty successful too.
I like the percentages. I like what you did there. That was tricky.
Make it up on the fly? Yeah, that's what I did.
The Titans are going to go Cam Ward 1. Then, Dustin, it gets interesting. The Browns are drafting 2. Will Cousins said he wanted to wait until after the draft. Yeah. Will he join the Browns as QB1? Most likely. What do they do? Your Giants. What do they do? The Patriots are 4 and the Jags are 5. That brings us to Travis Hunter. We were having the conversation earlier today. He's a legit two-way player. Now, nobody's going to go full on, you're a receiver, you're a cornerback, just go out and play. That's not going to happen. It's unprecedented, really. Now, this isn't back in the day. We're talking modern times. Dion, I guess, was a two-way player, but yeah, I mean, you could say that. You mentioned Troy Brown. The fridge was shtick running the ball in the Super Bowl. Vrabel played defense, obviously linebacker, and a little tight end maybe, but he wasn't a consistent two-way player. Is there anybody I'm missing when talking about Travis Hunter as far as unprecedented potentially being a two-way player?
No, in the NFL, those are the big ones. Like Troy Brown, probably used the most on the other side. Julian Edelman occasionally would play defensive back for New England, but it's mostly the Patriots. It's mostly Bill Belichick getting creative with his best players and putting them on the field more. Every now and then, J.J. Watt would line up at that fullback spot and they'd use him, but that was a red zone package. That wasn't throughout the game. What Travis Hunter's trying to do is play both sides of the ball, and I just don't see how it's possible in today's NFL. I just don't see it.
My question is, if everybody believes Travis Hunter is potentially a lockdown corner or a special wide receiver, why wouldn't the Browns draft him at 2? They just re-signed Myles Garrett. They don't need Abdul Carter. They're fine defensively. The issue for them is special talent on the offensive side of the ball, and that brings us to Travis Hunter and what would you do? What do you value? 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. I was thinking about this, honestly, big guy. I was thinking about it, and I wanted to sound like a smart sports radio guy, because I think I'm supposed to say, you obviously go cornerback. It's harder to find a great corner than it is a good wide receiver or a great wide receiver. And then I thought about this. Penei Sewell was drafted after Jamar Chase by the Lions, and he's probably the best right tackle in football, the best player on the Detroit Lions. So we won. But Jamar Chase was taken very high at wide receiver by the Cincinnati Bengals and essentially was a key part to taking them to the Super Bowl. So they won as well. You don't have that conversation surrounding a cornerback very often. I understand it's because of the nature of the position. We're not going to highlight it as much. But I made a decision. If I'm drafting Travis Hunter and he has that much skill, I'm saying screw defense. Go out and become Jamar Chase. Go out and become Jefferson. Go out and become a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Let's score some points because, hello, that's what the league is about.
I fall into a similar camp as you. I agree. He should choose a side. The problem is, I think he should play corner. I look at what he did at Colorado against a bad Big 12 this year, against the Pac-12 that disintegrated a year ago. I see a guy that put up good receiver numbers, not absurd receiving numbers, against defenses that weren't all that special. This isn't a guy who came out of the SEC, but the big picture is he can't play both. You have to choose one. The attrition in the NFL, game in and game out. What are coaches going to do late in the game when he's played a million snaps on both sides?
Both. There's no chance, big guy. He can't.
And you have to make it.
No chance.
But I'm just going to say this. Travis Hunter has to be a cornerback because I'm not so sure I see a special wide receiver. I see a special corner, but I don't see a special wide receiver. I see a good wide receiver, and that's not enough for the risk involved of him playing that many snaps in the NFL.
I like that answer. I like that. I'll go wide receiver. The big guy's going cornerback. A lot of calls on this. I want to get to you because I'm genuinely curious what people would do here. Like if the Browns draft him, do you say focus on being a cornerback? Or do you say, let's go, let's light up the board with Kirk Cousins because defense has been our strength the past couple of years and the offense has been bad? Let's start here in Los Angeles on VSiN Live with Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, guys. So, yeah, in this conversation with Travis Hunter, it sort of reminds me of, Shohei Ohtani. And you guys know how at the beginning of his career he was primarily a pitcher. Now he's basically just a hitter, but he might pitch again. We'll see, sort of a back and forth thing. So you guys said he can't play both. Amendment to that, can't play both at the same time. So it depends on who drafts him. If you think you're ready to win now, or you think you have like a young quarterback of the future, you want to get him going, put him at receiver. So let's say someone like the Giants draft him. Russell Wilson's not the future. I don't know what they're doing. So I say you put him where he's most valuable, which I do think is the lockdown corner. And then, hey, maybe they draft their guy next year or in a couple years, throw him at receiver, right? I mean, I think that would be a unique career arc. But that we haven't really seen. You see people dabble with a couple at the same time. You've never seen someone play a corner for a few years at an elite level. It's like, oh, by the way, now we're going to switch it to receiver, have this whole other career. Wouldn't that be amazing?
No, it would be. Can we all agree? I like that answer, but can we all agree if you are going to go both, the focus is cornerback with packages for wide receiver?
Yes.
Not focus wide receiver, packages cornerback. Would we agree with that?
Yeah, just because you can just go red zone, you can have certain downs that he's available on, certain situations. But for defense, you can't build a defense and a game plan to take on an offense and not know if your cornerback one is going to be on the field or not. That kind of changes everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's keep it going with these calls. I like this conversation. Travis Hunter, what do you value? Little Rock, we say hi to Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, buddy.
Look, I kind of agree with the last caller, but I mean, when is the last time you had a shutdown corner that just completely took away half of the field? I mean, it's kind of ironic, but it was like Deion Sanders, right? And that's his coach. I think that you take Hunter, you put him in as a shutdown corner. I don't know what team is going to end up getting him, but then you go find receivers that can score points for you, and you will have a reliable corner for several years that will give you, the offensive coaches headaches. I mean, real headaches to try to scheme things against him for many years. And I just think I just don't see how you don't do that with him.
You know what, Ken? You and Dustin might be convincing me. Because while you were talking, I thought of Darrelle Revis. And Revis just changed. He flipped the game. He made it possible to do so much more schematically, defensively. Even the kid this year in Colorado with the Broncos.
Yeah,
Defensive Player of the Year.
Surtain.
The numbers people tell me his impact on the game was insane. So I'd have to have a nerd tell me the impact of a shutdown corner v. a wide receiver. You can find talent at wide receiver easier. I'm flip-flopping.
I also think this is something that maybe is a crazy take. I think playing cornerback from a physical standpoint is the hardest position in all of sports. To find someone that can run full speed, backpedaling, transition, read coverages, watch quarterbacks, watch the receiver, keep up with them, go up in high point, make a play. I think from a physical standpoint, it's harder to find elite athletes who can do that than guys who can catch the ball and make a play.
All right, you guys got to convince me. Which way are we going? What do you value with Travis Hunter, wide receiver or cornerback? If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. We're getting to all the calls. Also, an update on Ovechkin, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
He whistles one wide. Ovechkin's camped out in the slot area, covered by Vlasic. Ovechkin fires! He scores! Alex Ovechkin has Wayne Gretzky dead ahead.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, great job, Cody, with the clip. Alex Ovechkin, that's 893 in Chicago tonight. 2 goals to the record. Remember, a very cool element of this chase is that the great one is going to be in attendance at the rest of the games for Ovechkin. So Wayne Gretzky is in Chicago tonight to watch Ovechkin eventually pass the goal-scoring record. So he's 893. He's 1 away from a tie and 2 away from passing Wayne Gretzky, who holds records that will make your eyes bleed when it comes to hockey. We never thought 895 would be passed, and it's about to go down. 894 would be passed, and it's about to go down. So it's a good job by Gretzky getting on board and kind of, again, he was in, I believe, Carolina a couple nights ago. He's going to be in Chicago. He's going to go to Long Island for the Islander game this weekend. I like that from Gretzky as Ovechkin lit the lamp there, 893. We'll keep you updated with the OV watch here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let's get back to the calls, and we move back our guest 10 minutes because I want to make sure I hear from all of you on the Travis Hunter thing, because I'm genuinely curious what you think. I don't see how the Browns don't draft him at 2. Their need is not Abdul Carter. If Travis Hunter is drafted by the Browns, what do you value? The wide receiver or the cornerback? The cornerback calls have been better, and Dustin's take on the cornerback, kind of focusing there, has been kind of swaying me because I started with the wide receiver. Let's go to Dave in Arizona here on VSiN Live. Hi, Dave.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good, Dave. What's up?
Hey, so I'm listening to you guys talk, and I realize there's a layer of Kool-Aid that's involved with Travis Hunter and Shitter Sanders, but it would be a Browns thing to do to draft one of those two. That would be a perfect Browns thing. But if you pass up Abdul Carter to draft one of those two guys, it'll just be another added to the Browns, monument of stupid. But I mean, Travis Hunter, he's just not physical enough to be an NFL corner right away. He's got a lot of freakish talent, but he's not physical. And talking about lockdown, why didn't he lock down the Big 12? I mean, they've got one pretty good receiver out here in the Pac-12. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, why isn't he locking those guys down? He's going to start in the slot, maybe work his way to the outside. And if you draft Shitter Sanders, you're going to be really sorry for that one, because that guy's going to fall apart right under you. And then you're going to hear Dion talking about how, oh, man, it's the wrong coach, or, he's hurt, or this, that, and the other. And that's what you're going to get out of those guys.
I actually agree. I'm not as high. Abdul Carter, the only problem is the stress fracture in his right foot, but he should fully recover from that. You value an edge at such an extreme level, so I understand. I'm not as high on Hunter. I'm just going by what is being projected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Carter's a safe pick. If you just draft in the first round quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and pass rushers, you will likely in the end be pretty successful as an NFL GM. And for Carter, I mean, the projection's easy after how he looked in the Big Ten. I think Shador, the hate he gets is kind of crazy. I think he's at worst a starting NFL quarterback, which is something.
Yeah, you're right, though. It's so varied on what people think about him as a quarterback.
With that, I don't want my team to draft him, though. I should add that.
Let's go to Steve in South Carolina here on VSiN Live. Hi, Steve.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good, buddy. What's up?
I'm glad you guys are back on the air.
Thank you.
And this is a couple things. First, I'm going to be a little long-winded, so don't cut me off like JT the Donk does. I hope Travis Hunter's not available to our New York Giants, Dustin. I question two things. I question what the last caller says is physicality. And the other thing I question is his durability. He's very slight. And he can get away with that in the Big 12, but he can't get away with that in the NHL. You know what I mean? The NFL.
Yeah, of course.
I think he's going to play against bigger, faster wide receivers that will punish him. Dustin, I think, and I hope the Browns take him, and we don't take Shedeur Sanders either. I think we wait next year for a better quarterback, and we take Abdul Carter. That's my take for tonight.
Good job, Steve. Nice to hear from you again. I think Dustin would agree with you.
No, I don't.
Steve, obviously a Giants fan. You don't want Abdul Carter if he's there?
I want Travis Hunter at corner. I want to shut it down on defense. The Giants have invested in a quarterback. The offense should be improved. The defense kept them in games a year ago. I think the defense could be even more elite now.
Can I say something to you if it's a safe space?
Yeah.
I think he is tiny.
He's skinny.
I think Hunter is tiny. His legs are a toothpick.
But I think at corner, it's fine. At receiver, I don't like him taking hits. I want Travis Hunter. I am totally good with it, but I want him as a corner. I don't care about the receiving aspect. I think he's going to be mid as a receiver and not worth risking putting out there for what he means to that defense.
I'm kind of afraid of what people are saying. I'm kind of the Pac-12 and the stink. I'm out on Dion.
It's the Big 12.
It's the Big 12. I'm out on the Deons. Like Dion, I used to love Dion. I'm not such a Dion guy anymore.
Donk.
A bit of a donk. Don't go anywhere. Your calls. We continue. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We push back Gable because I want to get the answers on Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. Pro Day today. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We got Cody, we got Ryan at VSiN Live on YouTube. If you stop by, say hi, get involved in the chat. The big guy will be hanging out there. And, of course, hit the subscribe button, hit a thumbs up. We're trying to get that VSiN Live YouTube going, so we appreciate any support you can offer. So 888-623-3646. It is, like, Dustin and I were talking about Deion during the break. A weird relationship with Deion. If you grew up in our era, he was as exciting as it comes, along with Bo Jackson. Like, it would be hard to explain. You know, Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders did the same thing. I remember Deion taking a helicopter to a Falcons game and then to a Braves game and then to the All-Star game. And then you remember Bo Jackson as a Royal hitting a bomb in the All-Star game and then going and playing for the Raiders. And then injuries cut Bo Jackson's career short. Deion wasn't a true two-way guy, though Deion was dominant with the Cowboys as a cornerback. Like, complete dominance and as a return guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Travis – I'm just going to say this. I know he measured fine. I watch him play, and something leaves me wanting. I don't see the freakishness like I see from Jefferson and Chase.
Yes.
I'll just start there.
And that's why I think he's really a corner. Most of the big plays he made at Colorado were bubble screens or slants or things over the middle. I didn't see that guy that like made guys miss. It was like an attrition. We're talking a guy who averaged over 7 receptions a game. They fed him the ball a lot in the snaps that he was on the offensive side of the football. What I did see at corner was a guy I think was pretty good at corner with the ability to be elite. And he was the number 1 prospect in his recruiting class at corner. He was the best prospect they had. He was a 5-star. He ended up at Jackson State because he wanted to learn from Deion. I have to factor that in as well. So that's why I view him more as a corner. I didn't see the special plays on offense that I want from an explosive wide receiver. I did see a guy who can take away half the field and immediately change the way a defense is called because of his abilities there. And then when it comes to Deion, there's a bit of a donk factor when it comes to Deion right now. Deion was cool. Deion used to be cool. Now, Deion rides that line of where you go, oh, I really appreciate the way he's trying to lead young men. And then sometimes he crosses the line where you're like, I think you're just kind of being a dick right now.
Well, yeah, no, we've talked about it during the break. Like, Deion, the coaching last year, I think you have to say plus. Like,
leadership, all of it.
What he got out of a pretty thin roster at Colorado was very impressive, specifically with who was running that offense. You remember the donk that was coaching the Giants. What's
Pat
his name?
Shurmur.
Yeah, I mean, come on. So, and he had a thin roster, top heavy. They actually played good ball. What I have an issue with is the grandstanding. When Deion got to Colorado, he made sure it was recorded so he could post it on social. He brought the current Colorado Buffs into a room and said, you all suck. Now, I understand he was trying to set a precedent. I understand he was trying to say things are going to change, and he had to do it in whatever way he did it. It's just you're talking to 19 and 20-year-old kids, and you're demeaning them. He oftentimes is grandstanding. You used the God complex thing, which I don't think is terrible. So that translates to Shador. And that is why, and it's almost like it's interesting because it's almost the antithesis. What people like about Shador is his maturity.
Yes.
Is his composure. Is his leadership. They don't love his skill set, but they like all the intangibles that you would think coming from a grandstander as a father, maybe it's just the opposite. Would you agree with that?
Completely agree. I think what people are failing with Shador to understand, I think this is a kid who has studied the NFL, studied playing quarterback, student of the game, and from a cerebral standpoint, he doesn't have any loose ends to tie up. I think he understands everything mentally about playing the quarterback position. The only questions I have are about the arm. That's it. I think he's accurate. I think he's decisive. I think he throws a very catchable ball. I just wonder if he's making all of the throws in the NFL because we saw so much short stuff at Colorado the last few years.
So when you and I were talking about it earlier today, I went and watched Shador. But this is the problem that we get into every single year with the quarterbacks. We talked ourselves into the kid from Kentucky that's now, the mayonnaise kid.
Will Levis.
We talked ourselves into Levis.
Yeah, fair.
Even
No,
though-
hold on. You and I did not. We did not.
We didn't go overboard like others. But it's the position that is most easily talked into because it's the position that teams are so thirsty for, especially the bad ones. But it's just there are conversations about Shedeur literally taking sacks because he's concerned about his completion percentage. That's not going to fly in the NFL.
No, you can't worry about your own personal stuff. You can't worry about how the numbers are going to look. You just got to find ways to win ball games. That's the only stat that matters for quarterbacks nowadays. It's the win-loss record. And technically, it's not a quarterback stat, but technically it is a quarterback stat. That's all you care about. Can you win me football games? And here's what I'd say about Shedeur. I think he can. I don't think he wins you playoff games. I don't think he wins you a Super Bowl. But I think if you're a team looking for a franchise quarterback and you can get him at the right point of the first round, meaning middle to late first round, where that means you have infrastructure. It means your team's not that bad and you can plug him in maybe next year. Yeah, I think he's worth the shot. If you're picking at the top and you need to overhaul the whole thing, I'm not so sure Shedeur Sanders is a hit the ground running, change your organization day one quarterback.
So let me ask you, and we'll get to Thomas Gable. Let me ask you, I'm starting at average. Do you have him above or below as a starter for 10 years, Shedeur?
Oh, I have him. I think his ceiling is Jordan Love.
I think Jordan Love is pretty special. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, but that's his
I don't
ceiling.
think he has Love's arm. I don't even think there's a
No.
question.
I'm
Love
just
has
saying,
a special arm.
I'm talking in terms of results. I think his ceiling is Jordan Love. So I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. That's my point. I think that's
Okay.
If you get everything out of him, he's Jordan Love. I think on the downside, God, he's not even Tua to me. I don't know.
Ooh. You know what I heard a criticism that I loved and it stuck with me? That Shedeur Sanders has completions on tape that will be interceptions in the pros.
That I buy. I buy that.
Like a zip.
I will go to the two leagues he just came out of. The Pac-12, the final year, not exactly known for elite defenses. The Big 12 this year, the Big 12 traditionally isn't known for defense, but this version of the Big 12, there was nothing special about any of those teams. So I find it really hard to evaluate him as a quarterback, especially if we're going to compare him to someone like that played in the SEC or the ACC or Big 10. I don't know what to make of Shedeur.
And escapability and quickness, not elite.
No,
agree.
he's not a mobile quarterback. Yeah, he's
no,
fine.
He's not overly mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to our buddy Thomas Gable. Thomas Gable, of course, runs the race and sportsbook at the Borgata. A good friend of ours. We were texting over the weekend about, the Elite Eight, and now we've got a Final Four with all chalk. Again, it's going to be busy there at the Borgata this weekend, so we appreciate a few minutes. TG, how you doing?
Doing well, guys, and just enjoying your little convo there on Shedeur Sanders and what his ceiling may be for the NFL.
Do you have a take?
I think he will probably end up being an average NFL quarterback, which I guess is pretty good, right? I mean, that's ultimately what teams maybe you're not going to win championships, but maybe get a team into the playoffs in a wild card. I don't know if that's going to be his thing, but I don't think Hunter is talented enough to be a wide receiver one in the league. I think Dustin's correct in that he needs to be a corner. He needs to play defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dustin actually just brought up the perfect comp, and it's Tua with Shedeur. Maybe Shedeur, if he has the perfect system, can thrive. But I don't think he's special to make any system work. So I would agree with you both there. And the Travis Hunter thing, you guys have convinced me. Just put him on an island as a cornerback. I'm down on him, but others tell me he's great. So maybe you're right, Dustin. Maybe he should just be a cornerback.
Yeah, I just think if you're going to go to the NFL, do what you do at an elite level versus something that you probably do he might be an above average receiver. But my point is you're walking away from someone doing what they do best, and you're limiting that by having him play snaps on the offensive side of the football. Now, TG, when it comes to betting, the draft is a weird thing. And I know that numbers have to be up for a lot of these books at certain points, and they get slow rolled as we get to the draft. I mean, how much do you hate booking the NFL draft? Because conversations like we're having right now, where's Shedeur going to go? What's the projection? Who's going to end up taking Hunter and what position? Like the ambiguity that comes with booking the draft. How difficult is that for you?
I hate it with a capital H, Dustin. I hate booking drafts with a capital H. It's something that I can tell you, I'm being completely honest here, I haven't even looked at NFL draft stuff yet because I'm avoiding it. And it's just I haven't put anything up yet. Because I don't want to. It's for those listeners out there who don't know about betting the NFL draft and the NBA draft. It is all information based, and we get beat on it pretty much every year with regularity. And it's really just kind of how much can you lose and try to keep that loss to a minimum. You're going to get beat. There's no doubt about it. You're going to lose money. And it's really just how much are you going to lose. And so the less exposure, I look at booking the draft in this way because I know there are places who have had stuff up probably for months at this point in regards to it. I look at it two ways. One, I don't want the added exposure that you have for months in trying to keep up with an information-based market, a purely information-based market. And two, it's not worth it to me if you're going to be taking super small limits either. I believe, in the fact that if you're not taking at least a nickel on a market, there's no point in putting it up. So, places that are booking it and maybe you're only taking $50 or something like that on a bet, to me, that's a waste of time. So that's the way I kind of look at it philosophically. But yeah, it's not something that any sportsbook likes doing. And because more than likely you're going to be losing money overall on it.
Yeah, that's the perfect. You're like me in school when I had a test coming up. You just procrastinate and act like it's not coming, but eventually it gets there, TG. So hey, by the way, we do have breaking news. I believe, and Dustin, good job by you. I believe that Thomas Gable loved Samford basketball this year, and Texas A&M is set to hire Samford coach Bucky McMillan as the school's next men's basketball coach. I want you to reply to that, TG, but I'll just say this. I love this, and I know nothing about the coach, but I like the concept of not just recycling a guy that we know about like a Buzz Williams or whomever. I like a young upside. Let's see if there's a crazy high ceiling. Thomas, do you have a reaction to Texas A&M hiring Samford coach Bucky McMillan?
I guess a little surprising because I heard of some other names that were much bigger for that job, and a little surprised that they went that way, especially with the names that I was hearing being thrown out. So, listen, A&M's a program that certainly has some upside, and as long as the NIL situation there is good, I'm all for giving coaches from smaller schools bigger jobs, and it's just part of life and moving on up in the industry and whatever industry you're in. And but I'm a little surprised at that. I'll just say that because I really thought that they were going to get a bigger name.
I thought they were getting Chris. I thought they were getting Chris Beard, to be honest.
Yes, that's who I'm referring to. Yes.
Yeah, me too.
And TG, the reason they're making the hires because Buzz Williams went to Maryland. What do you think of that move from Buzz Williams, who we kind of know who he is? We know what he's about at this point. And all things considered, with the way things went down with Willard, it feels like a good move for Maryland. I don't know what the ceiling is, but what are your expectations now?
By the way, Dustin and TG, Kevin Willard is a scumbag and a weasel. I'm saying that, TG. I'm sorry. He handled that as poorly as you could possibly handle anything.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did. I guess it's fitting that he winds up at Villanova, and in the way that you described him. But no, listen. I think, it was certainly a poor exit there, and what I guess Willard did bring out is just kind of what the situation is like at Maryland currently. So hopefully they can get everything, right there. And I will say this, Maryland traditionally, at least in the last, we'll call it 1.5 decades, they have recruited the DMV as good as any school in that area. Really strong in terms of ties to AAU programs in there. And so you certainly hope Buzz can continue to build on that. Now, of course, with NIL, you're not necessarily tied just to your one location, but I think Maryland should still continue to be a strong presence. I mean, listen, they had a great year this year, tremendous team, maybe slightly even underachieved.
I agree.
You can believe me saying that. Yeah, I mean, with the talent that they had there, and so we'll see what Buzz can get out of them. But again, they've had the hooks in the location that they're in there in the DMV, and in terms of just the high schools and the AAU programs and everything, they have all the right relationships for a long time. So hopefully Buzz can hang on to that and continue to do well there.
Hey, the good news is with all the turmoil, maybe your Georgetown Hoyas finally make a comeback. No, I'm joking. They won't.
Well, thank you, Patrick. No, I'm sure that they won't. You're correct.
I'll let Dustin ask you about Florida and Auburn because I want to ask you about, you and I both love Houston. Here's what I'll say, TG. You can give us the number with Duke and Houston. And Tori and I were texting about this. Whatever you think of Alabama, they're a legit team. And Duke toyed with them. I'm concerned about our Houston Cougars, though I want them to win. What's your number and what's your take on the game?
So we're currently sitting 5.5. We opened at 4.5. I made it 4. So for me, 5.5 would be a take here with Houston. Really, I was hoping it would get to 6, that I could take 6, but I don't think that's going to happen. Listen, I think this game is going to come down to how it's officiated. If the refs allow this game to be physical and aren't calling ticky-tack fouls, that's certainly going to favor Houston. Duke has not faced a defense like this all year. They haven't. Houston can match them in length. Remember, now I don't think it really makes a difference for Duke. I mean, they have, yes, they're being led by freshmen. They have 3 top freshmen, but they play, beyond their age. But Houston is essentially a team made up of men. They're, 23, 24, even 25-year-old guys that are on that team. So I think it's just, it's going to be a contrast in styles. Duke can pretty much play in any style. If Houston just, I've said it before, they make you uncomfortable on your offensive side of the ball. They will not let you get set in your half-court offense, and it just, whatever you think that you can do in your normal half-court sets, you're not going to be able to do, or at least with any sort of regularity. Houston just won't allow that. And I really think if the referees allow things to be physical and allow this game to be played physically, this is going to be a close game. And I think Houston will be in it. Now, if they're going to be calling it very tightly, and then Duke could certainly run away and hide with this game. So I would be, for me personally, a little tempted to wait and not get involved pre-flop and wait till it starts and see how this is going before I get involved. But right now at the number that's at 5.5, if you can get 5.5 still, that would be a take, I guess, for me for Houston. And certainly I would also lean on the under too of 136. We haven't moved the total. It's been 136.5 since we opened it, still sitting there. So we don't have much decision there on that. But in terms of just the handle of the 2 games, Houston and Duke has it has probably, I'd say, 3 to 4 times the amount of right on it than Florida and Auburn does.
Wow.
It's a little crazy that just is getting bet that heavily. But, I mean, I've heard people say that whoever wins out of this game is going to be the national champion. I wouldn't go that far. I think, certainly Florida and Auburn, the winner of that game certainly will have something to say about it. But, I mean, listen, Duke has looked the part. I think the betting public continues to basically just trust their eyes and what they have seen with Duke for as long as they've seen it. And that is a team that has covered at a high rate throughout the year and continues to get better. And not only is great offensively, but they are an elite defense as well. And I think that is going to be a problem for Houston. I mean, we know Houston teams of the past couple of years, they have had the issue where they kind of go on these dry spells on the offensive end, and that's kind of been their undoing at times. This year, the offense for Houston is better than it's ever been. I mean, they literally have 3 guys legitimately who can shoot it from outside, from three-point range, who are good shooters, led by Cryer and Sharp. But, I mean, Duke's right there in terms of defending the 3 ball. They're top 30 in that percentage in terms of 3-point percentage in defense, and they're even better inside the arc on defense. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I'd love to see Houston get through, but I mean, you really have to slay the giant here with Duke.
All right, TG, what about the other game, Florida-Auburn? Gators laying 2.5, total 159.5. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, another number that really hasn't moved all week. Florida's still laying the 2.5, and Broom's going to go. We know that. I don't think there's really at any point we're going to hear anything differently about him this week, so I wouldn't be too concerned as far as that. Obviously, took a few days off of practice this week, but this one I think is going to be all about pace. I think this number is right where it should be at 2.5. If I would have to lean one way on this, again, it would be on the total, and probably I would play the first half total under in this one, because this is the first game. You're going to have kids who are going to be coming out, nervous. It's the Final Four, and everybody knows that the shooting lines here are different in these stadiums than they are to normal basketball arenas. So it may take time for everybody to kind of get settled with the nerves and getting used to the shooting line. So if I played anything on this, it would probably be a first half under in this game. But Florida, I mean, listen, they've had some near-death experiences throughout the tournament. Most recently with Texas Tech, also could have very easily lost to UConn, but they're still standing. And they were probably the hottest team, right there with Duke, coming into this tournament. But they certainly have had some scares. So this game, to me, while Florida should be favored by a small margin, it would, Auburn winning this, I don't think would be really would count as an upset by any means. And I know everybody is complaining a little bit about the lack of underdogs winning throughout this tournament and the lack of a Cinderella overall. But to me, I think from a booking perspective on our side of the counter, having all 4 number ones, having the clear 4 best teams in college basketball playing here for the title is going to be the best case scenario for us from a booking perspective. And strictly, if you're just a fan of college basketball, I think this is what you want. You want to see the top teams play each other to decide who's going to become the champion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's a great breakdown. By the way, the Borgata this weekend's going to be busy, the race and Sportsbook, because some great horse races as well, including the Santa Anita Derby, the Wood. We're going to be talking to our buddy Jeremy Plonk here in just a couple of minutes. TG, the horse racing this weekend's amazing.
It is. I mean, it's that time of year as we get into the lead up to the Kentucky Derby and Santa Anita Derby. Here we got journalism and Citizen Bull. I think both are in it. So I don't know if you've done any handicapping yet, Patrick. If you lean anywhere in the Santa Anita Derby.
I think journalism could end up being a superstar. That's what I will say.
Okay, there you go.
But he's going to go short. So I'm hoping Barnes beats him. Okay, TG, thank you. Appreciate you moving back a couple of minutes for us. You're the best. Thomas Gable, Race and Sportsbook Director at the Borgata. Stop by this weekend. It's going to be busy there, and say hi. Thanks, TG. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. The aforementioned Jeremy Plonk is going to join us next. I'm so fired up about this weekend's racing. And First Bet, Express Bet has a contest with the Final Four and the big races this weekend you can get involved in. We'll talk to Jeremy Plonk next. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we welcome you back. So Wednesday, I texted Dustin. I said, can we get Jeremy Plonk on the show on Friday? He goes, I read your mind. I already texted him. He's in. So it's like, it's obviously those that have been listening to Mad Dog Sports Radio for a long time. Horse racing is my favorite sport, and this is genuinely my favorite time of the year with the prep races leading up to the Kentucky Derby. It's just so exciting, and Jeremy Plonk is here. First Bet horse racing analyst at Horseplayer Now on Twitter. Here's the deal. I want to set you up with this because it's absolutely free to enter. They've got a great Hoops and Horses Pick'em Challenge, which I entered yesterday. It's free. So you make picks, and it takes 2 seconds. You make picks for Saturday's races and the basketball games, the sides and totals, and the top pickers get first bet vouchers, but also there's a $500 prize on the line. So I think they pay out through like 50, all right? So here's how you're going to find it. Go to sports.first.com/contest, sports.first.com/contest. And then we have, if you go over to vsin.com, there's a big, you just click it. There's a big, what do you say, Dustin? Like a
banner
sign that says,
banner.
Yeah, banner. Yeah, I'm a professional broadcaster. There's a big banner that has the Hoops and Horses Pick'em contest. You literally just click that. It takes 2 seconds to enter. If you don't enter it, you're crazy. All right, that was a long lead up, Jeremy. Thank you for joining as we say hi to Jeremy Plonk. I want to do this before we get to the big races this weekend. If you don't mind, let's back up, and we'll start with the Arkansas Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Tappet son and Sandman who Tappet project. They're always going to be crazy. And so there were questions about him down the stretch. It's like they act erratically, Tappet sons and daughters. But Sandman scored the victory in the Oaklawn and the Arkansas Derby. Are you impressed with this horse?
Not so much from that race because he had a really fast early pace setup. So the race kind of fell apart. They went insanely historically fast the first half of that race. So with his running style coming from the back of the pack and a sustained run, somebody from the back had to win that race. He was the best of the horses from the back of the pack. He'll need a lot of help in the Kentucky Derby with his erraticism. He's been trouble at the start. He's been trouble in the stretch. When you get to Kentucky with 20 horses, the hoopla, 160,000 people screaming, it could get a little crazy for Sandman. If he wins the Kentucky Derby, you have earned it, because he's not going to get any easy trips. And so I think he's one of those horses who's a little bit of a sucker bet. People like the come from behinders. He was kind of teasing in his last two races where he almost got there, had some mistakes, and it gave you a good excuse to bet him back. I think he'll be an underlay price in the Kentucky Derby. And two, he's got a cool name, right? Sandman, and everybody in the world who likes Metallica is going to be jamming on him the whole week. And names matter in the win pool in the Kentucky Derby. We've seen it over the years, A horse with Jack in the name will have every single guy named Jack, his grandkids, his Sunday school teacher, all betting the horse in the Kentucky Derby. So Sandman's going to get a little more play in the Derby win pool for his name, for the way he runs, the excitement that he provides. But I think he's a little bit of a sucker bet.
And he's a gray from Tappet.
Yep,
Cool.
exactly.
He's got the name. The Florida Derby, a grade one, always a great prep for the Kentucky Derby. Sovereignty was in the race, who people were expecting big things from, Jeremy. And Tappan Street, I don't know if I never can say the name correctly, ends
Tappan.
up winning Tappan Street ends up winning the 2025 Florida Derby. What did you take from that race?
I think Tappan Street's pretty good. He's only run 3 times in his career. He ran in a stakes race, the Holy Bull Stakes in the 1st of February, late January, with only 1 race under his belt at that time. And he ran really good in that race and ran second. Instead of keep running him back, they just trained him up to the Florida Derby. Brad Cox, the trainer, he's won a Kentucky Derby by disqualification with DeLeone. He's generally regarded as top trainer in the game, not named Bob Baffert. I mean, he's number 2 in anybody's pecking order. So Brad Cox knows how to win the big races. He wins at Churchill. He's the top trainer there in Kentucky. I think he's got a really strong horse. Tappan Street was just 3 starts. He beat Sovereignty. Sovereignty, with no real excuses for either of them. They both had clean trips in the Florida Derby, and the Florida Derby's been the most predictive race in the history of the Kentucky Derby. 25 horses have come out of it to win the Kentucky Derby, and Mage just a couple years ago came from the Florida Derby, lightly raced, similar in profile to what Tappan Street is, and a much more talented horse, Tappan Street, than Mage was a few years ago. We'll find out if that talent measures up with the rest of this crop on Derby Day. But I think Tappan Street's pretty good. And Sovereignty, I wouldn't give up on him yet. That was a decent second. He ran pretty well. And if you like horses who are going to be coming from off the pace and rallying in the Kentucky Derby, Sovereignty's one who is going to be running at the end.
Jeremy, how about the Wood Memorial up in New York, where I know Baffert's got a horse in Rodriguez, where Mike Smith's on him, and then Captain Cook is a popular one as well. I know Pletcher has Grande. When you're looking at the Wood Memorial, who jumps out to you?
I think Captain Cook's pretty good. He is a horse. He ran one time as a 2-year-old last year in October and then was sold. There was a dispersal sale because unfortunately his owner had passed away. And so they got rid of all of the blood stock. And the people who purchased him, St. Elias Stables, Vinny Viola owns the Florida Panthers and his wife, Teresa. They've won the Kentucky Derby. They've had big horses over the years. They bought this horse in the dispersal sale in November, came right back in December, turned the horse over to trainer Rick Dutrow, who won 2/3 of the Triple Crown with Big Brown back in 2008. Now, Dutrow was banned from horse racing for his infractions and his run-in with medication and different violations over the years. He served a 10-year ban from horse racing and is back in the last year or two. Since he's been back, he won a Breeders' Cup Classic back in a year and a half ago in November with White Abario. He's won. That's the big race he's won since he's been back, but he hasn't been back in the Triple Crown scene since. If Captain Cook runs first or second on Saturday, Rick Dutrow will be back in the Kentucky Derby. I think Captain Cook's pretty good. He won a race called the Withers Stakes in early February at 1 1/8. Most of these horses are just now getting to their first start at 1 1/8. They'll find out this weekend if they can go that far. We already know he can run that far, and he ran pretty fast at the distance in the Withers Stakes. So I think he's legit. Of the horses running this weekend, he's one, I think, who could win and be in that top 4 or 5 discussion on Derby Day for sure in terms of horses you want to be keeping an eye on. Captain Cook's pretty good. Rodriguez, the horse he's going to run against, will give us some sense of the Californians again coming east. Baffert's got so many good 3-year-olds this year that he's been sending them on the road. He sent some horses to Oaklawn to no avail. It didn't work out well for him there. He sent a horse to the Florida Derby last week, Matticat Road. He led most of the way and tired a bit at the end and ended up 4th. How will Rodriguez stack up on the other circuits around the country? Baffert still has 2 of the 5 horses that run in the Santa Anita Derby, which we'll talk about. So he had to find a place for Rodriguez to go run, right? You don't want to keep running your horses against each other. You're trying to accrue money. You're trying to accrue points to qualify for the Derby. So you got to spread them out. How good is Rodriguez? He's probably 5th, maybe 4th on the Baffert pecking order, but it might be good enough to win the Wood Memorial. I think outside of Captain Cook, there's not a lot in there to be totally scared of. Grande's run twice for Todd Pletcher. He's won twice. Of course, people who follow racing know how good Pletcher is. Folks who don't follow racing, he's won multiple Kentucky Derbies, and he's one of the top 3-4 trainers in the game. You think Baffert, you think Brad Cox, you think Chad Brown, you think Todd Pletcher. Those are the 4 in anybody's horse racing training superfecta right now. They're the 4 best in the game.
And Steve asked me in somewhere, just said,
yeah, you know what? He's got to be up there
Plonk
too. I mean,
hates
he's won
me.
more
No,
races
just
than
playing.
anybody.
No. First bet, horse racing analyst Jeremy Plonk. So again, it's literally just a drop-down box. It took me 20 seconds to enter. Hoops and Horses Pick'em Challenge, first bet, and VSiN. You can go to VSiN and click on the banner. It takes you 2 seconds. It's kind of insane not to enter it, is what I would say. You said something before I get to the Santa Anita Derby, and I'll let the big guy ask you about the Bluegrass. You said Mage, and you said this horse that just won the the Florida Derby is better. That brings me to this year's crop. I feel like it's awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but this could be a very electric Kentucky Derby because there are a lot of good horses here.
I agree. I think the top end of the crop, I think there are 4, 5, 6 that are really, really good. If you get down into some of the depth, you've got some horses who have nice credentials and resumes as well. Cole Battle won, 2 stakes races at Oaklawn in the Arkansas Derby Trail. He finished 3rd in the Arkansas Derby the other day, but he's kind of a rags to riches horse with a 72-year-old trainer in Lonnie Briley out of Louisiana, out of the bushes, who has never had a big horse in his life. And he almost won, the $1.5 million Arkansas Derby a couple weeks ago or last the crop, when you talk about Cole Battle, might be like 12th, 14th, 15th out of 20. That tells you how good the crop could be. And there's a horse in Japan that I think you want to keep an eye on. His name is Luxor Cafe. He has won a couple races in a row in Japan very impressively. He's by American Pharoah, our Triple Crown winner here in the States. He's a relative to a mare that made over $2 million on the turf here in the U.S. Luxor Cafe out of Japan might be better than all of them, and I'm kind of interested to see what he does when he comes over here.
Hey, big guy, can you do me a favor? Can you provide the link in our Family Bets Discord and also at the Rap Radio on Twitter right now? So I'll just make it easy on you guys to enter the Hoops and Horses Challenge. We'll throw it up in the Discord and we'll put it up on Twitter. And I'll ask Jeremy about the Santa Anita Derby. I'm biased because I'm here in Los Angeles. I think the winner of the Kentucky Derby comes out of this race, Jeremy, and it's just 5 horses. Talk to us about the Santa Anita Derby field this year.
Well, no question, the favorite in the Kentucky Derby comes whoever wins this race on Saturday in the Santa Anita Derby, and they probably will be the horse to beat. There are 3 really good ones in the Santa Anita Derby amongst the 5. Journalism's been lights out since he's gone around 2 turns, starting to run longer distances. He's 3 for 3 in the longer distance races. Citizen Bull was the champion 2-year-old last year. He's won 3 races in a row and has done nothing wrong with a win this year in the Bob Lewis Stakes. And then Barnes, a horse who cost $3.2 million for Bob Baffert. He's named for his assistant trainer, Jimmy Barnes. This is a horse who won his first 2 races and then got beat when running second in the San Felipe behind Journalism. So the only horse to ever beat him, he gets a chance to exact revenge on. So that's kind of what you want to see. It's kind of like a rematch in a conference championship game. Somebody might have beat you in the regular season. Now you get a chance before the tournament to go beat them on the way in. That's what Barnes has a chance to do on Saturday. Citizen Bull has done nothing wrong. He's not been behind a horse in his last 3 races. He's won wire to wire in all 3. So they're going to have to catch Citizen Bull. And in just a field of 5, you'd like to see somebody else go out with him to kind of soften him up a little bit. But the other fastest horse early in the race is the other one by from Baffert's barn in Barnes. So he's not going to go attack him. They're going to kind of play the carousel game and just kind of go around there, and keep the same margin and not press each other. And then the real race will begin. They'll both try to win the race at some point, but they're not going to go attack each other from the bell. So Journalism's work will be cut out for him because there's not going to be any sort of pace help here like there would be in the Kentucky Derby. If Journalism runs first or second in this race, he could be the Kentucky Derby favorite, even getting beat in this race. But if he gets beat, I think it's because of the pace. I don't think it's going to be because of his talent. He's training really well in the morning. I think he's the one, and I think he's the one who's going to go on to Louisville as the favorite for the Kentucky Derby and be the horse to beat. You got to get a decent draw and things like that in the Kentucky Derby, and a lot can go wrong at that point. But for now, in a 5-horse field, they're going to have a hard time keeping Journalism away in the stretch on Saturday.
Is Journalism potentially special?
He's by Curlin, who was one of the greatest horses of the last 20 years. A horse who won the Preakness Stakes in the 2007, which was the best crop we've seen. I do Countdown to the Crown, a weekly scouting report. I've been doing it for 20 years. The second year I did it was 2007. I've not seen a crop doing every Triple Crown prep race for the last 20 years. There's never been a better crop than 2007. That was Street Sense, Curlin, and the great filly Rags to Riches winning the Belmont Stakes. Just a phenomenal year. Curlin went on out of that crop, ended up earning about $10-12 million before he retired. Back when $10-12 million was a lot of money, back in 2007. And so he is bred Journalism to be really good. His damn Mopatism, she was a multiple stakes winner in Southern California, won a lot of good races out there. He's got the pedigree, he's got the running style. He could be very special. I'm not a big speed figure advocate, but the majority of horse players are. He got a 108 Beyer speed figure in his last race. Just a phenomenal number. A 108 Beyer speed figure will win the Kentucky Derby every year. I mean, 108 will easily handle. If he runs that race back on Saturday, he'll win. And if he runs that race back in the Kentucky Derby, he'll win on that. The question is will he regress if you believe the numbers on their face value that they assigned him? But he is good. He is really, really good. We do a podcast, Jeff Siegel and I, with First Bet on Tuesdays, and we do a Stars of Tomorrow segment in our podcast on Tuesdays. It's called the It's Official podcast, and we kind of review what happens over the weekend. When this horse won at Del Mar last November, he was our Star of Tomorrow, and Jeff Siegel was saying at that time, he's like, This horse, first time around 2 turns, watch out for him. This is the horse of all the Bafferts and everybody talking about all the horses, Citizen Bull and everything at that time. In November, when he just won his first maiden race at a mile, Jeff Siegel said, this is the horse we're going to be talking about in the spring, and he was right.
How about in the bluegrass, Jeremy, where I see a name I recognize, Kenny McPeak, Mystic Dan, won that dramatic Kentucky Derby. And then there's a lot of horses priced very similarly, and then a couple long shots. What are we going to look at when it comes to the bluegrass stakes?
A field of 7 in there, and there's not a lot of like fluff. Those are all legitimate horses in there. The 7 are all pretty good. I mean, the 2 longest shots in the morning line are one for Kenny McPeak and one for Brad Cox. So, I mean, that tells you you've got a pretty good field when those 2 trainers have the longest prices in the morning line. There's a horse in there named Owen Almighty, who I'm high on, and a lot of people aren't. And I'm not sure his trainer's even high on him, Brian Lynch. Brian Lynch has talked openly about Owen Almighty being better as a sprinter, running shorter distances than the Kentucky Derby. He won a race at Tampa Bay called the Tampa Bay Derby, of course, unique name to that. But he won the Tampa Bay Derby in impressive fashion. Going into that race, Lynch, the trainer, was like, I don't know how far he'll run. We'll end up probably running him a mile someday, but we'll see what he does in a mile and a 16th. He blew the doors off of him at a mile and a 16th. He beat Chancer McPatrick in that race, a horse who won 2 grade 1s last year as a 2-year-old. Chancer McPatrick's back for the rematch. He was second in the Tampa Bay Derby. But the way that Owen Almighty finished up in that race, like his final sectional splits, if you just look at like the fourth quarter of the race and the final 16th of a mile, they were phenomenal. I mean, they are like California Chrome good. And if you know horse racing, California Chrome was phenomenal in 2014, almost won the Triple Crown. The way he came home in that race were splits similar to what we saw California Chrome doing on the Triple Crown Trail at a similar time. I don't know how far Owen Almighty is going to run. He's got to run a little bit farther here at the mile and an 1/8 in the bluegrass. I get the feeling he's not a Kentucky Derby horse per se in a mile and a quarter. So that makes his Kentucky Derby this Saturday. His big race, everybody's got a Derby, I like to say, in air quotes, because not everybody's built for a mile and a quarter in the Kentucky Derby. But if Owen Almighty's going to win a big money race, there is $1.25 million on the line on Saturday in the bluegrass, and this is probably as far as he wants to go. I think he's going to be cranked to the max, and if they get to the Kentucky Derby, let's see what we've got left at that point. But this is a chance for a really good horse to win $1.25 million race. And I think they're going to really lay it on the line on Saturday. Jose Ortiz's jockey's riding better than anybody in America right now. If you watch the racing in New Orleans over the winter at Fairgrounds, he ran away with that meet. He won over 30% of his mounts for the meet. Jose Ortiz, he rode Sandman last week to the big win in the Arkansas Derby. He's riding really well right now. I like Owen Almighty a lot. I don't know how far he can run. We're going to find out.
It's easily the best horse racing weekend of the year so far. And we've got the hoops and horses pick'em challenge. Here's what I'll say. Those of you intimidated by horse racing but no basketball, you don't have to know anything. Just pick a horse and you can
Oh yeah, I did.
So go.
Yeah, I know that because I
just did it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. We put up the link at the Rap Radio and we put it in our Family Bets Discord. You can simply go to VSiN.com, click on the banner, and you can win money. It's absolutely free to enter. First,
I'll tell you what, Patrick, I'll give them 2 so they can get a head start. All right. Captain Cook and journalism, we'll give them 2. And somebody's got to help me because I can't pick the Duke game because I hate Duke so bad. I couldn't stop on the drop down with the D. I had to go to Houston, and I don't know if that's the right move or not. So you sports guys got to help me on that.
We're pulling for Houston with the points, so I don't beat that play. And you just got the 2 horses and the 2 races you got to pick from Jeremy. Jeremy Plonk at Horse Player Now. Thanks, Jeremy. Enjoy the weekend.
Have a good weekend, guys, and good luck playing.
You too. Again, I would encourage you to go play this. It's fun. Dustin did it during the segment. It takes 2 seconds to enter, and you can win cash. Right, Dustin?
Yeah, just don't ask me which horses I chose. I don't remember now. I'm going to have to go back and look.
Just helped you out. He gave you the
Well, no, I need to change them. I need to change what Jeremy said.
Do we have do-overs in this contest? Can you go back?
We're back here. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Thanks
so much,
VSiN
Jeremy.
Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, we're going to go back to talking about the draft at the top of the hour. Dustin, I'll have you pick up that conversation with your baseball updates here in a second. The women's Final Four is on SiriusXM tonight at 9 Eastern, so coming up in a few minutes here. UConn takes on UCLA with a spot in the championship game on the line. Hear the game on College Sports Radio, Channel 84, and on the SiriusXM app. So can you start with that nugget about the Reds? This is one of the crazier stats I've heard.
Yeah, so the Cincinnati Reds are the second team in the last 100 years to ever lose 3 games in a row, 1-0. Why is that interesting? Well, in the bottom of the third, and there's still a lot of baseball to be played, they trailed the Milwaukee Brewers 1-0. That would make it 4 in a row. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but it feels like almost impossible.
Yeah, for a sport where there's 162 games played by 30 teams for over 130 years, it's crazy that is, you know what I'm saying? Like 1-0 feels like a pretty common scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why it's, last 100 years is because obviously offenses have evolved. And you think about the steroid, like 1-0 is to one, only allow 1 run, and then to not score any in a 3-game span. That actually feels like I want to know what the actual real odds of that are, because it feels like it shouldn't be possible.
The FU tour with our Dodgers in a little bit of trouble as the Dodgers trail the Phillies 3-0. This is a good litmus test for baseball because the Phillies are a very good baseball team.
Yeah, Jesus Luzardo, big acquisition in the offseason for the Phillies, 7 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. One thing that bothers me about the Yamamoto stat line, 6 innings, no earned, 5 strikeouts. Well, technically he did allow an earned run. Trey Turner went to steal third. He stepped off and he threw it away, and Turner scored on the play. I feel like if the pitcher is the one who makes the error, it should be an earned run.
Anything else in base? We're going to geek out with our buddy Joe DeLeone on the NFL draft here in a minute. Anything else baseball-wise that stands out to you?
Giants walked it off against the Mariners in their home opener in 11-10-9. Yankees offense continues to mash. Crushed the Pirates 9-4. First Yankee win for Max Fried today. The Mets, Tyler McGill with a great start. Juan Soto, a key RBI double. They beat the Blue Jays 5-0. And those are the big ones that have
How about the
gone down
Red
so
Sox
far.
home opener? They played at 13.
Yeah, 13-9. They beat the Cardinals. Everyone went off in the Boston lineup. Home runs from Story. Bregman had a double. I mean, we're talking 2-3 hits for most of the lineup.
Okay, we were talking about Shador and Travis to begin the show. We're going to talk draft with Joe DeLeone, A to Z Sports next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
All right.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, we're going to have a little fun and geek out on the draft, but quickly, VSiN is on SiriusXM Channel 158. You get your 24/7 sports betting coverage on Channel 158 and on the SiriusXM app. And as an exclusive offer for SiriusXM listeners, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $19. They're handing out crazy deals. Again, through August 1st, so a few months, and you get all the picks every day. You get the betting splits from DraftKings and Circus Sports. You get a ton of information how to become a more sophisticated bettor. You get our Kentucky Derby betting guide, our NFL betting guide when it drops. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. You have to use the promo code SIRIUS to lock in the special offer. VSiN, the sports betting network, and this is VSiN Live here on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, we got our buddy Cody back in New York City producing. We've got our ride or die Ryan Smith in Las Vegas with the YouTube page at VSiN Live on YouTube. Make sure you hit a thumbs up and subscribe for us. We appreciate that. You can jump into the chat with us right now at VSiN Live, and it's a good time to do so because we're going to talk the NFL draft. And Joe DeLeone is joining us, A to Z Sports, NFL draft analyst. They're some of the best to do it, and they've got a new mock draft dropping Thursday, A2ZSports.com. All right. You can also check out the podcast, the Ruffino and Joe Show, and Hack City podcast as well. We say hi to Joe, who did the unthinkable. He was near the beach in California, and he said, no, you know what intrigues me? The Garden State. So he moved back to Jersey. I don't know how you can defend it, Joe. I just don't.
Look, I get it. I totally understand. We were talking a little bit about it before we came back from the break, but just being a Jersey guy, anyone who's from New Jersey understands where I'm coming from. Now, anyone else in the world, yeah, what you just pitched absolutely sounds insane. It sounds even crazier if I told you I was a 10-minute walk away from the beach, which is like, it could not have been in a better location. I could walk to Venice, could not have been in a better spot. I just missed the East Coast, and maybe I'll regret it in a couple of years, but so far I'm not.
Patrick hates this answer.
I went Dustin quickly. I went to get some water, and I swear to God, it's literally a picture perfect day here in the South Bay. And I said to myself, as I was getting water, I freaking love living here. And I came back and heard you and Joe Dustin talking about moving away. I don't get it.
Joe, Patrick hates this answer because he's from Detroit. But the real thing you missed was the pizza and bagels. Like, that's why you go back to New Jersey.
I mean, if we're being honest, so I'm an Italian, DeLeone. I don't look super Italian because I'm half Irish, but anyone can assume here that why I desperately had to get back. The food in Los Angeles is good. The food in New York and New Jersey is on a completely different level with the Italian food. So that is tier one biggest reason to move back.
You're not wrong. By the way, it is quite a dichotomy. DeLeone is very Italian, but I'm Irish as well. You look more like me than you do an Italian.
I get told that all the time. I don't look anything. I have Italians that have told me I don't look a thing Italian. I shouldn't say that I'm Italian, but I get to claim it because of the last name. It's enough.
You got to represent it. So we started the program. Dustin was telling me this morning, the Colorado Pro Day. Travis Hunter, okay, we'll talk about him in a second. Shedeur Sanders, Joe, is so polarizing, and a lot of it's going to have to do with his father. We understand that. But let's just talk about the prospect. Then we can talk about, where he ends up in the draft. Shedeur Sanders as a prospect, Joe, you think he is what?
I think the funniest part about the way that you set that up by saying he's polarizing, his play style isn't. He is one of the most balanced prospects that we could have at quarterback in this class. And that's why he's deserving of going somewhere in the first round. He has the highest floor. He is a high IQ player with great decision-making, great touch, accuracy. He is in the upper echelon in all of those categories, which is why he has entered into this discussion of being worthy of being picked in the top 10 in a year where there are really no good quarterback options outside of him and Cam Ward. But where the limitations come into play, is it physically? He doesn't have a super big arm. It's more average than it is premier. He doesn't have elite escapability and athleticism to run away from pass rushers. If anything, he typically gets caught very easily. And he's also not going to kill you with his legs as a runner overall. He, to me, has the capability of just being a steady, reliable starter that is average, down the middle. I think that like his floor is what Geno Smith has done with the Seahawks, which has been just reliability, a little bit of a down year this past year, and we'll see what he does with the Raiders. And his ceiling is being what Jared Goff has been for the Detroit Lions. The Lions don't win because of Jared Goff. He's had some great games. They win because they're a great team and they have a great roster around him. So I think as long as the right team picks him and is patient about structuring the roster around him, he will have a good NFL career. But it is really just to round things out here. It's very funny how polarizing he is and his name is when nothing about him is going to be like super crazy that we'll be talking about the big highlight that he has every single week.
Point.
And with that said, I'm looking at the market. The Giants are the favorite to draft him at 3 overall, 2-1 on the betting board. Browns then plus 275, Saints at 450, Steelers 7-1. When you look at the fits, when you look at the where they are in the draft order, where do you expect Shedeur Sanders to go and to what team?
I keep going back and forth on this because of the comments that were made by Jimmy Haslam at the owners' meetings this week. He kind of talked about how, one, Deshaun Watson was a swing and a miss, and then two, he spoke on how they don't want to force a quarterback pick. That kind of makes me feel like if you're already getting the sentiment from your owner, means he might not be bought into Shedeur Sanders unless this is a smokescreen. It sounds like they're maybe more in love with Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter in trying to bolster their defense for the eventual quarterbacks that they bring into that situation. But I think that where he still makes sense for them is that they need a cheap option at quarterback. They need somebody that is going to be cheap for them to build around over the next couple of years, because right now they're in cap hell with dealing with navigating away from Deshaun Watson. But I will say this, I do not think that he will make it past the Giants pick. And very simply, it has to do with the desperation of Joe Shane and Brian Daboll that they are fighting for their lives to stick around. John Mara was pretty clear about how he spoke about their current situation in the end of the season press conference. It sounds like they are on very, very thin ice. And their moves to bring in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston were indications that they were so freaked out that they needed to have not only one contingency plan, but two contingency plans. See, if you're able to draft Shedeur, you at the very least can buy yourself even more time if he steps in and plays at the end of the season and shows some bright things.
I legitimately loathe what the Giants did with their quarterback room. I honestly, and we know they were in for Stafford, so they're just throwing shit at a wall, pardon my language. What they did with their quarterback room, to me, is asinine. I want to do this a little bit differently. Dustin, I'm going to start with you on Cam Ward, then we'll go back to Travis Ward, because you are a Miami guy. So the way I'm setting this up, my assumption is the Titans are taking Cam Ward. I can't see it happening any other way. But I want to ask you, Dustin, about Cam Ward, and then I want to go to Joe, because he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Dustin, the ceiling for Cam Ward is what?
The ceiling is an average quarterback in the league. I don't see special. He's as a Miami fan, and I am in the minority here, I believe his special fourth quarter comebacks were partially because he just kind of went through the motions and and what regular plays were happening in front of him with defenses giving him looks, where he waited for plays to break down to show off how special he was. The problem with Cam Ward is he doesn't take the layups. He doesn't take what's given to him, and he waits for those off-script Caleb Williams type superstar plays. And because of that, he had to use a lot of fourth quarter heroics to bring Miami back in games. And I have concerns about him looking like Caleb Williams just looked in year one, and he doesn't have the talent of Caleb Williams to overcome that in the NFL.
Okay, that is an interesting way to then transfer to Joe DeLeone, A to Z Sports NFL Draft Analyst. What do you think of Dustin's breakdown of Cam Ward?
Dustin, I couldn't disagree with you more on Cam Ward. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. So first of all, on VSiN, on Joe Serralo's show, Cashing In, I dropped way in the offseason that I was saying Cam Ward's going to go on to be the first overall pick. He has the tools. And what makes him worthy of this conversation and why it's clear cut, he has unreal arm talent. Like, it's just, not only is it so natural for him, the touch and the ability to layer throws and to know how to put the right amount of pace on different types of throws. he also has a very strong arm to drive the ball into tight windows. I don't disagree with the premise that you're bringing up here, and I think that that is where the huge negative is with him, is that he doesn't like to take the layups. He's always going for the three-pointer. He's always trying to shoot from half court half the time. And he's able to do it in college. Like at Miami this year, it came to fruition because he was playing in an offense with Shannon Dawson and had Xavier Restrepo and Elijah Arroyo and all those receivers and a really good offensive line that gave him time. He was able to succeed. I think that that's the double-edged sword with him, is where, yes, just like Caleb Williams, he's going to come into the league early on and he is going to be awful. He's probably going to be really brutal because he's going to have a bunch of turnovers. He's going to hold the ball too long. He's going to do that laissez-faire approach to playing the position way too much. It's going to lead to sacks. It's going to lead to so many bad things. But what ultimately vaults him into the conversation of eventually being a guy who could be a top 5 quarterback in the league is those tools that I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, the arm strength and all of those things, that playmaking ability, the improvisational skills, is that as he starts to improve and 2 to 3 years into his career, eventually that risk-taking starts to pay off. And I compare it exactly to Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love when they came into the league. Both guys were characterized as players that were super risky, that made really poor decisions, that were always looking for the home runs. And then as they started to learn how to actually play the position, that was when it started to pan out. So I think if we assume that Cam Ward is going to be fully ready to go in year one, I think that a lot of people are going to be disappointed. And I agree with you. He's probably going to have a similar season to what Caleb Williams did. But if we're patient and the Titans do the right things around him, he could end up being one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I think we're both right. I think we're both right then, because my idea is what he is now, and I don't know about the development. Yours is that there's potential here to take another step if he goes in the right spot. Now,
don't get defensive. I like the beef. Don't get defensive.
I wasn't being defensive. Cam Ward, though, not really. Like, he's mischaracterized as an elite athlete. Like, I don't think he's an elite athlete. A guy in this draft who is, and Patrick can't stop making fun of me, as someone who doesn't want Cam Ward on the Giants, I would like a second-round flyer on Jalen Milroe, because from an athletic perspective, if you can figure out how to scheme it up Jalen Hurts style, who I don't believe Jalen Hurts is a very accurate passer, but Milroe's actually a better athlete than Hurts with the speed. Do you believe Jalen Milroe is a starting quarterback in the NFL?
I don't, obviously not right now, but I agree with your sentiment. He is my 3rd ranked quarterback at the current moment on the A to Z Sports Film Room channel. Me and my co-host Ryan Roberts, we just dropped our quarterback rankings video, our top 10 quarterbacks. I have him at QB3, and I have him for that reason, that if I am taking a day 2 flyer on a guy, that I'm banking on the upside of what he could become, he is the player that I want to take that chance on. Now, I don't think that he should go to a situation. I don't like him with the Giants because he can't go to a situation where there's not an established clear starter and an ability for him to sit and to learn. I think he needs to go, and we need to let this thing bake for maybe 4 years, 3-4 years. I know that's insane to talk about, but you mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I love that comparison for how he can be deployed early on. I think that that's his path to success, is eventually him just getting on the field, getting some carries in a, it's basically wildcat read option type situations. Just let him get out there, maybe get a couple of throws into the mix, and then maybe by year 3, after he's worked in behind a veteran starter, when that veteran, it's time to move on, he takes over. Maybe a team like the Raiders, I think, would be a really good, nice example, or the Saints, that have a veteran guy who does just enough, and then when it's ready to turn the page, and hopefully Jalen Milroe, and you've built the system around him, and you've got the weapons around him, just like Jalen Hurts, he could actually pan out, or he just ends up being Malik Willis. And that's also realistic as well.
Oof.
It's a very wide spectrum.
It's a very wide spectrum.
Joe DeLeone, A to Z Sports NFL Draft Analyst at Joe DeLeone on Twitter. A new mock drops Thursday, A to Z Sports.com. So it looks like Jackson Dart's going to be a first rounder, right, boys? Like, that is, first off, Lane Kiffin is the most overrated coach that I've covered. He stinks. And I don't love his, like, the system works in college. I would be concerned about drafting a quarterback out of the system. Where are you on Jackson Dart?
I am super out on him going in the first round. I think it's plausible. I think that somebody is going to just pull the trigger because he looks good enough on film that you can kind of be deceived into thinking he's a capable starter. But you just mentioned the big thing for me. I have so many concerns with him playing in that offensive system. And very specifically, if you look at film, first read, he is money, accurate, poised. He's tough in the pocket, which I love, but he'll be so on point on that initial read as long as that initial read's open. But when that second read that he has to move on to, and he has to start thinking, he is all over the place. The Florida game is a perfect example of that, where he was incredibly messy. He was all over the place. So many bad mistakes at the end of that game. And it was kind of perplexing if you were paying attention to Ole Miss, watching him perform the whole year, because you're thinking to yourself, he's usually so accurate. He makes so many good decisions. What's happening here? Well, once you look at the all-22, you start to realize, oh, this guy doesn't know how to make decisions. He's not a good decision maker. And more importantly, when you are not great at moving on to that second read, you need to have plus traits in other categories. That's why we talk about Cam Ward. He's got the big arm. Why with Shedeur Sanders, we talk about the accuracy. Jalen Milroe, we talk about the elite athleticism. Jackson Dart is a slightly above average athlete. He's got an average arm. He's got average anticipation. He just does everything at an average level. I think that this is Kenny Pickett. I think that there is going to be somebody who takes him because they need a quarterback. Maybe it's the Steelers, which would be hilarious if they do this again, but I do not believe that this is going to pan out.
Okay, we started the show, Joe, talking about Travis Hunter. Should he play both sides of the football? So I'm curious, from someone who grinds the tape, who watches him both as a corner and receiver, if he was two different players, what's the evaluation and where does cornerback Travis Hunter go in the draft? And then what's the grade and where does wide receiver Travis Hunter go in the draft?
Good question.
He is cornerback 1 in this draft class, and he is wide receiver 1 in this draft class.
Oh.
I don't think that is the one thing that has kind of bothered me through this process, is that, and even when he was in contention for the Heisman, a lot of people that didn't watch him were just looking at his stats going like, oh, well, he's just slightly above average at both. No, he's not. He has unbelievable instincts at corner. He's got such fluidity and great hip mobility and able to transition so quickly. And then the length and the ball skills to either knock the ball out of the air or to turn the ball over better than anybody in this class. And as a receiver, despite not having the time to really develop route running and to have a diverse route tree and to really understand how to win in specific matchups, he has some of the best big plays as a receiver in this class. He is Odell Beckham Jr. as a receiver, and I don't really have a comp for him yet at corner that I really, really love, but he can do both things so well. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, I think that he's a cornerback that is going to start primarily at corner, that will work his way in at receiver every so often, every couple of series.
If you think about it right now, Myles Garrett, Bosa, Watt, there's a rich, as far as defensive end, this is a great era. Is Abdul Carter going to be a part of that conversation or not quite?
I absolutely think that he is. He's another guy that I'm just in love with in this class. And the biggest thing for me, outside of the rare and athletic tools, he's got a great first step. He generates really great power. He explodes through offensive linemen. He does everything physically that you look for. But the biggest thing that is so stunning is that he went from being an off-ball linebacker, an inside linebacker, to defensive end. And at the beginning of the year, he was just winning by out-athleting guys. And then what was so unexpected is that on a week-by-week basis, he was showing improved, developed nuance of understanding of how to use his hands and how to win with pass rush technique. That is why he deserves to be in that upper category of going on to becoming one of the best one of the best edge rushers in his generation in the next 10 years. I think that if he ends up with one of these teams that needs a big boost in their pass rush, especially if it's the Browns, he is going to take off. And by year 2, with a full year with an NFL coaching staff and a full year with an NFL training staff, all of that is going to help him reach that ascension into being one of the league's best defensive ends.
Yeah, I don't watch
film.
Big
guy. Can I just say this quickly? And he just said it when he gets an NFL staff, because I don't think I draft anybody coached by James Franklin just out of principle. That guy's
But what I would say is when you watch Penn State, I don't need to watch film to know that guy jumps off the screen. It felt like he was in my living room every play, stopping plays happen. I'm curious about the running back position, because It does feel like there was a resurgence last year with the running back mattering more again. I'm looking at DraftKings. The number is set at 2.5 running backs in the first round. You actually get plus 220 on the over. So that would mean Genty's in the first. That would mean Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson in the first. Do you believe it will be 3 running backs in the first? And what do you think of the prospects?
No, I would take the under on that. I think that there's a realistic chance that Omarion Hampton could go in the first round. Maybe it's the Pittsburgh Steelers who haven't really addressed running back effectively during free agency, and they let Najee Harris leave. And he just fits the profile. I mean, he's a hard-nosed physical runner that will run through your chest, and they love to run the ball between the tackles. So I think that that would be a nice fit. But I don't think that Travion Henderson's going to be a first-rounder. I think that there are so many quality running backs in this class, and this happens not only when there's depth at a position, but especially depth at running back. A lot of NFL teams during the draft are going to go, let's just wait. Let's be patient. Let's address the teams that are much more, let's address the positions rather that are much more scarce, that we need to find guys, whether it's offensive tackle or it's receiver, and then we'll grab one of these running backs late on day 2 instead of doing it in the first round.
Is Genty awesome? Is he, again, running backs are so, I feel like dime a dozen. Is Genty better than that?
I think he is. I think that he very early on in his career could enter into that Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley type of a category that win because of type of running back. Now, the thing that it's funny when we look at Saquon Barkley, the beginning of his career, and Bijan Robinson, the beginning of his career. They both went into situations where those teams were picking really early and they weren't ready to win yet. And you see all the highlight plays, but it doesn't really go towards winning football. They should have addressed other positions. I really hope that Ashton Genty is picked by a team that actually is ready to compete for the playoffs, whether it's the Chicago Bears or it is the Dallas Cowboys, that if you add him into the mix with a team with already a good starting quarterback, quality offensive line, and good receivers, that you now take that huge step forward, just like we saw with Saquon Barkley when he entered the mix for the Eagles. That was the missing piece. Taking a running back early is a luxury. It is not something that you can just willy-nilly do, which is why I don't love the thought of him going to the Las Vegas Raiders, because they have so many things that they need to round out with that roster. But to finish up this thought on Genty, what makes him so great and why he fits in that category is the contact balance, and it is supported by the fact that he averaged over 5 yards per carry after contact, and the ability for him to find open rushing lanes after that initial lane and then to just pick up speed in a hurry. He is a home run threat every single time that he touches the football.
I got to tell you, look, this is what I love about the NFL draft. It's my favorite event of the year in sports. It's better than the Super Bowl. It's better than the first 2 days of March Madness, because I didn't know how I felt about Ashton Genty, the prospect, Joe, until you put him in a Chicago Bears uniform, and I got the tingle. I got excited about it and went, you know what? I'm into that spot. I'm into him going to the Bears. How about the wide receiver position? Because it's a little bit lackluster. I'm looking at the betting market. McMillan from Arizona, odds to be number 1 when it comes to wide receivers, minus 185. Matthew Golden, workout warrior in Texas, plus 150. Egbuka, 13-1 in Ohio State. But Luther Burden, the third, 50-1. What do you think of the top wide receiver prospects in this class? How would you rank them?
For me, I'm not a huge fan of Tetero McMillan as much as everybody else is. And my biggest reason for that is just I have concerns with his ability to create separation. And I need to see Tetero McMillan enter a situation where he's the second receiver, where he is not the primary option, because if he gets a lot of extra attention and coverage, I don't think that he's going to have the same level of success. He was able to win in these jump ball situations in college because he's bossing up on a bunch of guys that are probably not going to touch the NFL, that are going to be becoming accountants or lawyers or working at enterprise. It's easy for him to do that. But when he's actually stepping on the field against these 6'3" corners that run fluid and fast, like Sauce Gardner, guys like Derek Stingley that have the play strength to go up against him, I worry what's going to happen. I think that his perfect fit is with the Dallas Cowboys, who already have CeeDee Lamb. He could be their T. Higgins, and that's my comparison for him. T. Higgins is a great receiver, and if Tetero McMillan lives up to that, he's going to be a great productive receiver, but T. Higgins is great because he's opposite of Jamar Chase. He's my number 2 receiver in this class. My number 1 is Matthew Golden, who tested incredibly running a 4.29. And then there's been a history of the NFL falling in love with guys that run the 4.2s that were in that first round mix that suddenly get vaulted up to be the number 1 or one of the top receivers taken. Henry Ruggs, Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle, John Ross. It's happened plenty of times before. He does a lot of things right. Great hands, great route runner. Luther Burden is going to be a phenomenal player in the slot, a yak dominator that is super elusive at creating space for himself and then killing in space. And then Emeka Ibuka is just the epitome of Ohio State receivers being super savvy, consistent route runner, big frame, and then is going to consistently win over the middle.
I agree with the big guy. The draft just plays. It pops. Like I don't know what it is about the draft. We always get into it every year on the program, but it's just high theater. It's something they package perfectly. Before we say goodbye, Joe, give me a sleeper. I know you're high on like a Dylan Gabriel, who everybody's watched for years and years. Maybe talk about him a little bit. And is there just a sleeper that we're all just bypassing and we shouldn't be?
One guy, I wouldn't categorize him as bypass because the real ball knowers have been talking about this guy for a while. And I found this kid when he was a 270-pound offensive tackle at William & Mary 2 years ago. And I was blown away by his film, but he was way too light. And he put on the weight and he bulked up. And I'm talking about Charles Grant, who was starting left tackle for William & Mary over the past couple of seasons. And what makes him so rare is his flexibility and his fluidity and his overall mobility. I think that if he ends up on a team and sits for a first year and starts to add some real strength and works on his technique, he is going to be potentially one of the better interior offensive linemen in the NFL. It is just hard to come by the athleticism that he has. And I think that there's a real shot that he goes somewhere late on day 2 and ultimately ends up becoming a reliable offensive lineman in the NFL.
And what do you think about Gabriel, the quarterback we've all watched for many years?
I like Dylan Gabriel. I was very pleasantly surprised by his film. I am like super anti undersized quarterbacks, and I was so ready to be like, nope, this isn't going to happen. I'm not putting him in my top 10, but his arm is stronger than I thought it was going to be. I thought that he was going to be like a lot of these small guys have to shot put the ball off their shoulder, but he delivers the ball, has some nice deep accuracy, overall great anticipation and decision-making, and he's also pretty elusive for his compact build. So I think that he is, out of anybody, if there's a backup that sticks around for a very, very long time, it is going to be Dylan Gabriel.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels like a dude that just would win if he played. Like he's better, like Tua. Like I feel comfortable with Gabriel in an offense that fits him, like a Tua. Right.
Fourth round, you take a chance, you let him ride the bench, and if you need to play him, you feel safe with him running the offense. So I get
exactly
one more quarterback where for a while as a Giants fan, I thought, you know what, screw it. Don't take a quarterback and hope that Quinn Ewers finally becomes self-actualized in like the 3rd or 4th round. But based on what I'm reading, everyone thinks that he stinks. What is the evaluation of Quinn Ewers? Is he even an NFL quarterback?
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I got to be completely honest. I'm not there on Quinn Ewers. But he is somebody who at one point had such an amazing arm, and he was so natural at the position, but it never clicked. It never clicked. The decision-making for all the games that he's played, he just always makes the back-breaking, like, why were you throwing that? Why were you doing that? The Arizona State game is such an easy example of that. He is the anti-clutch, or he has the anti-clutch gene. Just whenever you need a big play to take the game over and finish it off, he does the complete opposite. And the other thing, too, I feel like his ball velocity, I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's just been an accumulation of injuries, but it's just, that was his big selling point. The pop in his arm and all that stuff is just completely gone away.
You know, we had such a historic quarterback draft last. Like Jaden Daniels is if he doesn't get hurt, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't care what anybody says. You can say I'm jumping the gun. No, I'm not. That kid he's an all-timer. I think Caleb Williams is going to end up being fine with Ben Johnson. I really do. I'll tell you this. I think Penix Jr. is going to be a superstar. I genuinely think he's going to turn into a superstar. I want to ask you before we say goodbye about J.J. McCarthy. You think J.J. McCarthy is going to be an above-average starter in the NFL?
And where would J.J. McCarthy be in your QB 1, 2, 3 for this year's draft?
Oh, he would have been QB1 in this draft class. He absolutely would have been. And he's a lot of upside in projection as a prospect. But I think that my biggest thing with him is that he landed in the perfect situation. We saw what Sam Darnold was able to do with Kevin O'Connell as his offensive coordinator and his head coach to help him develop as a decision maker and take that next step. And I think that J.J. McCarthy, he could not have been in a better spot. If he was rushed out there and if he was expected to do a lot of things early on in his career, I think everybody would have been sorely disappointed. But because this has been baking a little bit, they have the money to spend in free agency on bolstering the offensive line. They've got some draft picks that they can bolster their defense. There's so much that they can do during this upcoming draft class heading into next season. I think that he can be, at the very least, an average starter in the NFL. I don't think he'll ever touch the top 5, but I think that at the very least, we'll talk about him the same way that we talked about Sam Darnold this year.
Did you guys both, if you're rolling your eyes at me, the two of you, about the Jaden Daniels take, you've lost your freaking minds.
Oh,
I'm not. I don't disagree with you. He just has to stay healthy.
He had no help.
He is spectacular. And I'm curious, did you, Joe, I know, big guy, settle down. Did you, Joe, have him when you graded him coming out of college, obviously not being as good as he was last year? We haven't seen that from, I mean, he's that good. But did you have Jaden Daniels potentially being super special?
I had him behind Caleb Williams coming out of that draft class, and I expected that he and Caleb were going to be great players. I kind of expected that Jaden was going to be a little bit better early on because he's a better athlete and he was able to win with his legs. But the thing that was unexpected is that he was such a great decision maker this early on into his career. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's hit the ground running. The biggest part here with the Commanders is that they just can't blow this like the Texans did with CJ Stroud, where going all in but with the wrong guys and it not panning out. I think that there needs to be a little bit of patience with building this roster instead of just going all in for a very short window and hoping it all comes together.
Big guy, you want to yell at me? He did it with Zach Ertz. He doesn't turn the football over, which is insane for rookies. He literally is adverse to turning the football over. He glides. He doesn't run. He's the perfect human being.
I get accused on this show, Joe, of never backing down from an opinion, from never admitting I'm wrong. But the reality is, all I did was admit Patrick was right, that literally last summer before the season started, he said, I think the Commanders are going to be a playoff team. I think Jaden Daniels is a difference maker. And I laughed at him. And he will not allow me to live it down that he was right and I was wrong.
Okay, maybe you're right. That's probably true.
I mean, I can understand that. I mean, if you had a confident take like that, I also said that I thought Jaden Daniels was going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I ended up being correct there. So I think it sounds like we're in lockstep against you here, Dustin.
Joe, if I remember correctly, when we had you on about a year ago, you were about the only person out there who said Bo Nix to the Broncos first round. And a lot of people thought that was a crazy take, and it ended up happening.
And I also thought that not only was it going to happen, but I also thought it was a great pick. I heard all of these big experts that were saying it's not a fit for the offense. His best trait was his accuracy and his touch and all those things. Like, that's what Peyton wants. He's not Drew Brees, but no, that is another quarterback take that I don't know how I got that one right.
That's a great take. Bo Nix here's all I need to see. He threw a ball in primetime out of his end zone for a long touchdown. I can't remember the specifics. He showed arm strength that I had no clue that he had. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's going to be great. He's going to be Peyton will coach him up. But just Jaden Daniels. If I had a daughter, I'd want Jaden Daniels to marry my daughter.
Well,
I don't think his mom's not going to allow that to happen.
His mom is not going to allow him ever to get married. Which is
Juju Watkins just trying to holler, and the next thing you know, she gets denied Jaden Daniels and tears her ACL. What a rough stretch.
Oh, my God.
All right. We went so long because we love talking the NFL draft. Joe DeLeone, A2ZSports.com. Remember, the mock's going to drop on Thursday, so make sure you go check it out at Joe DeLeone on Twitter. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you in the spring as we get closer to the draft. When we return, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm a big JD5 fan. By the way, I'm also the person that said, and I still believe it, I think Caleb Williams is going to be a superstar too. So I got to take that hit.
the Bears are making the playoffs this year. Just buy into it.
Agreed.
It's happening.
They've got the best offensive mind that's ever existed. You don't think he's going to make Caleb Williams better?
They're going to be awesome.
Awesome. He made
They
Jared
might-
Goff an MVP candidate.
They might win the division. If you can do that with Jared Goff,
They might.
which is just random player X with a good arm, what you could do with Caleb Williams is something special.
Jared Goff is so random and so basic. It's mind-boggling.
We'll do that in the summer when things slow down again. How many quarterbacks in the NFL? You can't have systems. It's just your system. You're the offensive coordinator. How many would you take Jared Goff over? It's going to be 20-something.
When we return, we've got a huge update from the ice and Ovi, Alex Ovechkin, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, we were talking the NFL. I see our buddy Ryan Smith, who runs YouTube at VSiN Live. He went nuts. He said the Bears. Apparently, Ryan's a Bears fan. It's a good job by you, Ryan. As we welcome you back, so it's a pretty historic night in Chicago. Let's do this. So, excuse me. Whoa, another goal. Hold on.
Is it Ovi?
Oh, no, hold on. I don't know yet.
He was 20-1 to have a hat trick.
It wasn't.
Okay.
So Ovechkin scored to lead off, and that was 893. All right. With the great one in attendance, Wayne Gretzky. At Washington, Alex Ovechkin, Cody, just did this.
Here's a pass. Ovechkin scores! The Great Eight stand side by side with the Great One.
You know what? It's a great call. I said to Dustin, I don't know who the donk is that calls the games for the Caps, but I said to Dustin, I don't have to hear the call. I know it was scripted. It was scripted, but it was done well.
I like the laying up. It was simple. It was to the point. The shtick was the right level, and he got out of the way and let it be a moment. I love the call.
And he did something that's hard to do as a broadcaster. He had a script, and he didn't stumble over it.
No, I mean, that's
the thing.
I listen to the open of every show. It's something I do on the daily here.
Yeah, that's what I always – if you're getting into broadcasting, here's what I can assure you. If you think about something too much or plan something too much, you're not going to say it without stumbling. You're literally listening to somebody that has a hard time talking, and I got into this industry. So when I think about things too much, like if I had a script for Ovechkin's 894 tying the great one, I would have bumbled and stumbled all over it. That dude is a professional, whoever that guy is.
Yeah, and halfway through, maybe you have second thoughts of what you're doing with it, and maybe you go in the wrong direction. You got to bring it back, and all of a sudden now you've rambled on like I just did over the last 15 seconds.
It's just the anticipatory nature of, all right, now I got to say this, and then you stumble.
Joe Beninati.
No, you don't really. You're not. Yeah, I mean, you kind of are a stumbler. You're more of a get into a sentence, then your brain starts going ADD, and you say something. You go, oh, I should follow that, and you shouldn't, but you do.
I recklessly begin sentences not knowing what the end goal is. That is something I'm very guilty of.
I think I give you more credit. I think you go into a sentence with, I have a good thought here, and then you get sidetracked in the middle of the sentence, and you'll say something like, oh, I just brought up chasing a carrot. Where did that come from? You know what I mean? And then you had a good thought ready to go. And then you get hijacked.
No, in the moment, I just detour. I go, this sounds like better than where I was going, and I'll find a way to bring it back. But the problem is, then I hit another one, and then we're like 30, 40 seconds in, and I'm like, wait, what were we talking about?
Yep, and then you ruin the show. 100%. I totally agree.
My fault.
No, I'm just playing. But maybe the moral of this is you stick with your gut. You had a good thought to start. Don't let it get hijacked by your dumb brain.
Yeah, but my brain is out of control. My brain cannot be reined in. It is the only overactive part of my body is my brain. Everything else, very sedentary.
I've said it for years. It is the most active brain on the planet.
It can't.
And I don't know if that's a compliment or a bad thing. I don't know.
No,
but
you
have
like
the most
athletes.
active brain on the planet.
Athletes talk about visioning something ahead of time that's going to happen when I'm going to catch the ball, I'm going to hit the shot. By the time I would catch the ball, I've already had 7 scenarios play out of how the shot's going to go, how I'm being carried off the court as a hero, or how I miss it, everyone hates me, and I'm traded from the team. I have a million scenarios play out before the event even happens. Think about with an individual sentence when you ask me, what do you think of the Dodgers losing their first game tonight?
I'm not trying to be gross or weird, but how is it possible for you to be good at intimate relations? Because it's such an involved thing, you must get so many ideas during it, and you must get weird.
Yes, it's like, try this, and now this, and now this, and now this, and now this.
And your girl's just like, dude, just focus. We're trying to get a job done here. Yeah.
We're trying to get from point A to point B, and you're just going back and forth trying to go all the scenic routes.
Basically,
was
what
the
I'm
same
saying
track.
is no disrespect, but there's no chance you're good at sex.
I think most people would confirm that statement. I don't think that's a stretch.
Maybe one day we'll get your boo on and just like say literally, he doesn't care. I know you love him. He's not that good, right? Like, let's just be honest. Like scale 1 to 10, is it a 4?
Oh, I would take a 4. Are we saying like 5 is middle of the road? 5 is
5
average?
is average. 5 is
Slightly
average. 10 is you're a porn star.
Yeah, okay. We can agree that's not happening, but 4 right below average? Below average at that one thing? Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Let me be very clear. I'm not gassing myself up. I'm a solid 6.
Okay, you're slightly above average. Okay, slightly above.
5.5.
Okay, slightly above still. Slightly above.
I think if you ask some people, there might be a little selfishness involved with me.
Oh, did not anticipate that based on your history. Okay.
I don't even know what that means.
The one before the one.
You know what? This is why we deserve a raise. We turned Alex Ovechkin tying Gretzky into you stinking at talking into both of us being average at sex. It's a good segment.
But I would say if I could ever turn my brain off, this is kind of an ironic statement, I think I could be elite at everything in this world. I can't do it.
I generally clown you. I will agree with this. If your brain didn't suck so much, I think you'd be awesome at everything.
It's like if we could just dim it, if there's like some light, your light in your living room sometimes has a dimmer, if we could just bring it down like 65%, operate at that capacity, I think I could potentially change the world. No offense.
I think you genuinely need meditation and you genuinely need medication, and then you'd take over the planet. But you're too anxious and too paranoid and too big of a pussy to take medication, but I think it would fix you.
Yeah, you said meditation, medication. That's weird because all I do is masturbation, and that has not helped.
You did that because I didn't expect you. I wasn't setting you up for talking about masturbatory habits. Anyway, congratulations to Alex Ovechkin. He has tied Wayne Gretzky at, Ryan Smith says it's definitely Friday. Yeah. Here's what I will say, Ryan, and anybody else paying attention. I'll put that last 7 minutes up against anything.
Meditation, medication, masturbation. You know what the end result is of all three? You get a clear head. Multiple.
And you know what else comes out of it? Alex Ovechkin tying the great one. 894. Congratulations to the great 8. We come back. We'll close tabs. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Clear for 4.
With Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. up today's show. You see what I did there? Yeah. By finishing all of the conversations we touched on today. This is Closing Tabs.
Yeah, we got a banger of a week coming up next week on VSiN Live. We're unveiling a new segment for Hayden on Tuesday. It's called Tariff Tuesday. We just tax callers for calling in. Dustin Swedelson on Patrick Maher Fridays.
I'm confused. Do the callers pay the tax, or do we pay the tax?
Dude, nobody knows. That's the point about tariffs. You don't know if you're taxed, I'm taxed, they're taxed. It doesn't matter. It's not political, people. I just want my 401k to go back up. Hey, you asked me a dumb question during one of the breaks. You said if you had to pick one, Eli Manning or Jared Goff. Here's what I'll say, and I understand the question. You and I both agree on this, and I'm going to reiterate. And I'm not saying this sarcastically. The greatest throw in the history of the planet was by Eli Manning.
Yes.
I mean that. There have been many great quarterbacks that have come through. But the pass from his own end zone in the Super Bowl to Manningham is legitimately the greatest throw ever on a football field. And that is not up for debate.
When you bring up the moment, how precise it was, the window, the timing, where Manningham had to be on the field, it is the single most impressive throw we've ever seen on a football field.
Yeah, and I would even say, but you're right about the moment. Screw the moment. It's week 6.
Yeah.
Like, that throw is just in fuego. Let's close tabs. Again, if you're just joining us, Alex Ovechkin has tied the great one, 894. He's one away from the record. And it's going to – I think the next one's on Long Island against the Islanders. Ooh. Wayne Gretzky's going to travel. Gretzky's traveling to every Ovechkin game until he breaks the record, which is pretty cool.
And speaking of Wayne Gretzky, so he retired in 1999. At that time, he held 61 NHL records. As of now, tied with Ovechkin, he still has 57 of those 61 NHL records since 99. That is insane.
It's in the records, and how far away he is from literally everybody in most of those records is asinine.
Okay, next one up here. We were talking about Travis Hunter playing both ways in the NFL. You referenced Deion Sanders, kind of the most recent. Deion Sanders had 60 total receptions in his career. 36 of them came in 1996. Outside of that season, he never had more than 7 receptions in a year. So to compare him to Travis Hunter, what Travis Hunter wants to do, it's not even the same thing.
Yeah, I just give you credit. When you said both ways, I thought terrible shtick was coming. But he didn't do it, even on a Friday. I give you
know why? Because I don't judge people who do that, Patrick. Do whatever you want with your life.
Now you're putting me in a camp that does judge. I see what you did. That was passive. I don't judge people.
So next one up here, closing tabs. Nye County. Nye County is here in Nevada. The town Pahrump. I would like, in case my girlfriend is listening, I have never been to Pahrump. Why do I have to have that disclaimer? Pahrump is where all the brothels are. Those are the legal brothels in Nevada. However, in that town,
hitting skins with
hooah. You don't actually hit skins. You have to wear latex. It's whatever. Anyway, deputies in that town in Pahrump this week seized 7 tigers from the home of a guy named Carl Mitchell. Carl Mitchell had the tigers for over 30 years and claimed they were emotional support animals. Could you imagine you're just a person living in Pahrump, you're walking down the street, and the tiger got out and is just hanging out?
What's the dude's name?
Carl Mitchell.
Listen, I don't know much, but I do know that Carl Mitchell is a loser.
He's a psycho. What do you mean a loser?
You're not supposed to own they're supposed to be in the wild, bro. Stop being so selfish like Dustin in the sack.
All right, on this day in 1850, a place you love, Los Angeles, was incorporated as an American city. A guy who lived there, grew up there, Robert Downey Jr., born on this day in 1965. Also, a couple really important things happened on this date. Muddy Waters, blues guitar singer, born in 1931. I just care about his name. It sounds like the title of a porn video I'm not old enough to yet watch, and I'm 40 years old. And then finally, one of your favorite stories. After serving as president for only 1 month on this day, William Henry Harrison died in office. And
you know why?
Why?
He gave his inaugural speech. People thought he was a dum-dum, so he gave the longest inaugural speech in history. He did it in freezing cold. He caught a cold and died.
You know what? I should learn some lessons from that.
I guess. You want to die? Go for it. It'd be easier to do the show. Cody, thank you. Ryan, thank you. We'll see you on Monday. Tom Burns next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.